drag strips, effectively, that links them. Let's take a ride with Dylan Thomas in the CXC Racing Mustang and just have a look how much it is important to get your entry right. Get your entry right into most of these corners around this place. You're going to have a lot better time coming out of them. Let's listen to Dylan Thomas down the backstretch. Hard on the brakes here. Almost, well, effectively a 180-degree corner. Build up the revs. You can run a little bit wide there, as Dylan just did. Now back to the right side and prepare for a 180-degree left-hander. Well, actually, a little bit more of a sweeper in between coming up here as well. There you go, left and then left. Allow the car to straighten up just momentarily. Now down to the final corner. Another 180-degree corner. Really important you keep the momentum up off this turn. Yeah, Dylan Thomas, he knows how to get around this place. Currently our series leader. And we'll start on the second row. Of course, Nash Morris was the guy to beat yesterday. We expect he's going to be very, very quick all weekend. Matty Cav caught up with Nash after he took out the PWR Pole Award yesterday.
Well, it was an exciting PWR pole top 10 shootout here this morning at Queensland Raceway for round 3 of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. TA2 muscle cars framed by Hi-Tec steel framing. And Nash Morris, the big smile on your face because you've gone very fast and got yourself a pole award.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I didn't feel too nervous out there. I've done plenty of shootouts at Normal Motorplex across the years where I work, so it's pretty cool to get another $500. I can give it to the boys for working so hard.
Mate, impressive time out there as well. You've really stamped your authority there. 9/10 of a second over the rest of the field.
Yeah, well, races where it matters, so we'll see if we can carry on that speed. That's the biggest thing.
Well, congratulations. Grab your PWR Pole Award check.
Thank you.
Getting the $500 thanks to PWR Performance Products. He's a very grounded young man, isn't he? Very, very talented racer. Matty Cav joining me in commentary as he have a look at an overcast day here at Queensland Raceway. That won't affect our racing, that is for sure. There's the big Hi-Tec steel framing pace truck. What are they going to do with Nash Morris, Matty Cav?
Well, that is the question we've been talking about in the paddock last night, wasn't it, really? He came out in race number 1 off pole position, dominated that race. He did say, though, he was conserving some tyres, because we do know we have a limited amount of tyres for the weekend, and Josh Haynes wasn't too far behind him, and he was very, very quick as well. So the Sea-Doo's Beaches, the Beaches Sea-Doo number 37 Mustang that's coming off the second position there, he could also fight him for this one. We'll have to wait and find out. Brad Gardner's another one who's been moving through the field. Started out a 13th yesterday's race, and he ended up quite a way up the field in 8th position, so he started to move forward as well. Maybe we'll see him. Wasn't a great start from him for the qualifying. He missed the top 10 shootout yesterday, so there's plenty of things that could go anyway this weekend. You got Jackson Rice in the mix there as well. Hayden Hume, another name that, you know, he's been very fast. Contender for Rookie of the Year this year as well. He's been taking that out of quite a few of the events. So they kept the car clean yesterday. Not too much work in the garage. So we'll wait and see how this plays out for him.
I think the only way we can beat Nash Morris is with a 42. The guy is absolutely on fire. Very, very good around this circuit. In particular, Haynes, as you said, is quick, no doubt about that. Dylan Thomas, probably the senior statesman of this bunch in the top 5. They're all kids, but Rusty Wright, our original series champion, phenomenal drive out of position 6. He was really honking yesterday, despite getting a 2-car penalty in the top 10 shootout, thanks to PWR yesterday. So expect Rusty to be right on the job. Also, Hayden Jackson came from 20th up to position number 12 yesterday. One of our Hypercoil Hard Charger Award winner potentials, that's for sure.
Take nothing away from our championship leader, Dylan Thomas. Came into this round with a slim 5-point lead over Jackson Rice. Now, he's got Tim Brooks back in his camp. He was there with the Enduro up in Darwin last round. he's got him back here at Queensland to help him coach him through and get the car set up. And we saw some good pace from him. Dylan's a very smart racer, though. So didn't get in a fight with Josh Haynes yesterday. Josh managed to get past him very early in the race into that second position because he started out a third. So Dylan Thomas today, if they've made some changes to that car overnight, we might see some improvement from him.
Certainly Jackson Rice is one to watch. When you look down the order, Nicholas Bates. He is our Serco Masters class champion from last year and our Race-Tech Race Seats Rookie of the Year. We form them up for a double conga line of menace. This is the way we do our rolling starts in TA2 muscle cars. I love that Hayden Hume entry. It looks absolutely mean. As we bring him around, we're about to go. Haynes alongside Morris.
Well, this one's going to be exciting into turn number 1, and how adventurous do the drivers want to be? Yesterday it was a very, very clean race. It wasn't the chaos we saw up in Darwin. They didn't want to go 4 wide at the start, but we're waiting for the green. You can see the red lights, and now we're underway with the racing. Who's going to be the leader coming into turn number 1?
Gee, that's a perfect start, isn't it? Oh, was that Keem? Having a bit of a look up the inside, got off the racetrack. Hume alongside Rusty Wright. You work our way down to turn 2. So it's Morris, Haynes, Thomas, Rice, sideways, Rusty Wright on the outside of Hume.
He held on the ripple strip there. He didn't see much dirt. Oh, the background. Who was that? Mike Rao.
And Rob Leonard as well. Rob got off into the dirt. So the Super Cheap Autos entry is leading your Mustangs. First and second and third. Thomas, Wright, Hume, Pappas too was good yesterday.
Yeah, he really got up there in the top 10 shootout. And we look at Brad Gartner trying to make some big moves in that car. Changed over to the PWR team for this round. So they've been working very hard with that. They had some issues with the engine after practice. They got it sorted out. Didn't make the top 10 shootout, but he's trying to make his way back through the field.
You just see Hayden Jackson there trying to make that inside move work. Now to the right-hander. We're about to lock in our first lap. Hume, Pappas, Gartner in there as well as Bates. What a ripping first lap.
They were almost 3 wide through that turn number 6. Only 6 turns to do here at Queensland Raceway, but it is a very exciting track as they go into turn number 1. Gartner down the inside of Pappas, and will move up a position now as we see him get into 7th right behind Hayden Hume. He's dropped back a couple of positions from the start, but it's Nash Morris still out in front with Josh Haynes chasing him down. And can he get the job done?
Let's look further back. Graham Cheney, Mark Crutcher, Jackson's in 11th, McKeldin in 14th, Rowell in 15th, and Gunnedar's Greg Keem. Oh, massive lock-up! What was going on there? I think somebody off the racetrack. Oh, man. Bates is involved and so is Pappas. And I think we're beached, bro.
Boy, talk about Nick Bates. He has not had a great weekend as we go yellow out on track now. So the yellow lights are out, and potentially we're going to see that safety car leave pit exit.
I'm sure of it, Matt. I'm sure of it. Unfortunately, Pappas was going nowhere. There it is, the 8 car buried. And the very clean 24 is not very clean.
It's dirtied up, isn't it? As it's sitting there at the turn number 3, and that was one of the really technical points for the drivers. There's a few little bumps going into turn number 3.
Yeah.
How adventurous you want to be on braking there as well. How much momentum you want to carry into there early in the race. Oh, no.
Coulter. So Michael Coulter, fresh off driving with his dad, Steve, at the Darwin round, which I think would have been a real thrill for Michael. The Coulter boys steeped in history through their dad, through Steve's truck racing. Wow. Didn't really catch what was the trigger point for that. You would fancy there might have been contact, though.
You would think so. It looked like possibly under brakes, maybe trying not to make contact.
Oh, you just see there a lot of smoke. Everybody else just trying to check up and get out of the way. But unfortunately, you can see that Bates and Pappas are going to have to be retrieved. So we're under safety car here at Queensland Raceway. Nash Morris has your lead from Josh Haynes, Jackson Rice, Dylan Thomas. Our inaugural series winner, Rusty Wright. Welcome back in the crew commercial entry. Hayden Hume, the Total Parts Plus, beautifully turned out 45. Brad Gartner, the farmer from Panola, in South Australia, Hugh McAllister. I expect Hugh McAllister to be strong today, Matty Cav. He's sitting in position 8.
Yeah, he's had some great results in past championships, so he would look to move forward. Hayden Jackson already into 9th position after the mechanical issues in qualifying, started off the back of the grid, and he ended up in 12th yesterday, so 3 positions already. Mark Crutcher's making his way back through the field, because what an exciting top 10 it was. I mean, we thought for a moment he could be on the front row of the grid.
What a character. You just got to love Mark Crutcher. He is such a character. He's got a number of people here this weekend supporting him, a brand new sponsor on board for the weekend as well. So really cool to see. As always, Mark and his lovely wife, Boxer Breweries, a new line of beer produced by Witches Fall Winery at Mount Tambourine. So g'day to John and Kim Hislop and all the long-time friends, 10 of the staff and crew here today to support Mark Crutcher, who I'm sure, because he likes to support sponsors after today's racing, will be right into their products.
Up 6 positions for Crutcher as well. So Graham Cheney, I'd expect to see him move forward. Rao, we see him just drop a wheel off before. Matty McKeldin, they did a little bit of repairs on the gearbox overnight for that car.
Correct.
So he's back out there in 13th. Greg Keem in 14th. Rob Leonard doing a fantastic job in 15th. Great to see Hadley back after last round. He couldn't compete after a little bit of an ankle injury, so great to see him back in the field there in 16th.
Well, when you think about it, his championship has been very turbulent. At that big rollover at Winton, they didn't even get to the first corner before he got, unfortunately, upside down in that immaculate IES Camaro. So still under safety car. You see Pappas, the snatch strap, trying to retrieve him from the sandpit. How about Greg Keane? From Canada, the smash repairer, never driven anything like this before this year, and got into the top 10 shootout yesterday. That is a huge effort. There he is, the blue Mustang, the ex-Coulter entry. You also see Bernie Walsh in the 52, or it's got Bernard on his driver list, so maybe we go with that.
We like to use their real name, do we?
Well, I
Bernard?
don't know. I don't think, to me, he doesn't seem like a Bernard to me. He seems more like a Weekend at Bernie's type than that. Haynes has been absolutely hectic in the first couple of rounds of the championship already. See Hume just rolling by. There is Gartner. That is Hugh McAllister. And then, I've got to say, Hayden Jackson out of Newcastle is really showing some speed. They had clutch failure. Didn't even get a lap in qualifying yesterday, Matty Cav.
And it's very hard when you don't get into qualifying, because we have practice on Friday, which they were using used tyres from the previous round.
Correct.
So there is absolutely no grip on those tyres. Then they go into the green tyres for qualifying, so no chance to try those out. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes, but really trying to push forward. In the meantime, let's head down to Steve in pit lane.
Whitey, good morning to you, mate.
Good morning, guys. How are you? Beautiful day, Queensland. Look, I've just get an update on the Michael Coulter car. So crew chief is here, and obviously we just want to find out what's happened with Michael's car.
Yeah, it looks like he come into turn 4 and the pedal just went straight to the floor on the accelerator. So he's got no accelerator at all, but he thinks it may have broken the bracket. So we're not sure whether it's broken the cable or the bracket. So hopefully we might get him back in, have a quick look. Might get him back out to try and get some points. So we'll see how we go.
All right, doesn't sound like it's something in the drive line. It's obviously something you can fix today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're going to try and get him in now and see if we can get him back out if it's something simple. Yeah.
No worries, guys. And obviously the other 2 cars, we'll find out about the Pappas car and unfortunately the Bates car as well. We'll do some research and come back to you.
Hey, Whitey.
Yes?
Wouldn't you rather have the accelerator go to the floor with no throttle than the accelerator go to the floor and be stuck there?
I think I'd be worried about the brake pedal going to the floor, getting stuck there myself.
Either one, both those pedals are fairly important.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Well, they're having a rough time, aren't they, the Cabelco Camaro? They did so well in the first endurance in Darwin.
Yeah.
But they had a bit of a tricky pit stop there with the driver change, but it worked in their favour. They ended up in 2nd position out of that first Enduro. And in the 2nd Enduro, they got tangled up in an incident and the car sustained a lot of damage. So they have been very busy on the Cabelco Camaro just to make it to this round. So such a small component that could be the issue.
I'm sure Dad Steve will be on the job very quickly. We're double stacking him as we see down into the cockpit. Nice of them to stop right below our camera position for the SDM Trucks and Machinery Cabelco entry. His dad, Steve, was one of the greats of light truck racing, and in particular around Oran Park Raceway, where he was an absolute jet in the Isuzu wreck entry. Boys hoping to get that solved. If they can't get back out for this, they can at least, you would think, be out for race 2 and race 3 that we'll see a little bit later on today. What would we do without rubber mallets in motor racing?
Well, it is the tool of choice, isn't it, after an accident, just to make sure we've got all the clearance. They won't want to rub those tyres. Again, we say it, limited amount of tyres they get to use this again. So if you cut a tyre, that makes a big difference in these later races.
The Norwell Motorplex boys go to work on the Chris Pappas. Number 8, I do love that drone shot that we're seeing here. The Hi-Tec Oil Super Series, great to see George Gambino. Gee, he loves his motor racing. Down here setting up his own merch tent, his own oil products on sale. Of course, he loves his drifting too, and drifting around this place is phenomenal. It's a little bit like that with a lot more tyre smoke.
Well, we come back in mid-August for the Hi-Tec Drift All-Star Series here at Queensland Raceway. So, yeah, great support through motorsport with George Gambino. He's also supplying all the fuel to a lot of the drivers in the series as well. So many products throughout his range, and he does love motorsport.
Oh, look, if you didn't, you wouldn't be here doing this sort of stuff to that level, would you? We just saw Jackson Rice. We're just cleaning out the kitty litter.
How's it going, Matt?
Oh,
Matt, do you want to go?
Whitey, see a bit of a thumbs up. Not sure if we got a bit of a... What are you talking about, Steve-O?
Oh, just here with the Chris Pappas car. Obviously, the boys are rushing quickly to get the repair done. There is, look, superficial damage at the rear. The front's full of rocks and stones, and some of Queensland finds us here, so we'll just observe and see what they're doing. They don't appear to see there's any other huge problems. It's just a matter of getting the car ready, and they'll bolt that wheel back on and get it going again. I will follow up the Nicholas Bates car, but for right now, I think this car is going to join the action. We've got another lap or two under safety car, so they've got some time to get through there now.
Steve, I think if you're really committed, you'll grab a broom, mate.
I'll do that.
It's all about a clean work environment, Steve.
I'll grab one for you, and I'll report back and see how it
You
went.
can either sweep with it or ride it, whatever you prefer.
One or the other.
Well, judging by the amount of kitty litter he's pulling out, it's lucky he's next to the Cabelco team, because they could probably get a digger in there, I reckon, try and scoop that out, truck it away.
Nice thinking. We are burning laps here too, Matt. Under safety car, we've picked up a few and we put them away still, and we're still trying to get the Nicholas Bates car, the very clean Mustang, out of the way on the tilt tray. So you would think we're going to be at least another lap before we get going. I did see, we just saw Jackson Rice's car sitting in third. Love to get a shot of that if we can. Brand new sponsor on board. Speaking of things that would be good when you get dirt in the car, it's really cool to see the Dream Racing team with a brand new sponsor on board right down the side of the car. It's basically like an auto upholstery, a car mat, but a heavy duty car mat. So helps you get dirt out, snow, I would imagine, ice, water, all those sort of things. There is Rice in that third spot right now.
Yeah, the Mud Tamer floor protection, and they're here this weekend, based down in Victoria as well, so great to have them joining Jackson Rice and the team here. But let's have a look at the race start. We'll check out the replay, how this all started for Nash Morris, again dominant in that super cheap Mustang, and you can see he just gets the edge on Josh Haynes. He slots into second position. Dylan Thomas holds into his third. Jackson Rice on the outside. Hayden Hume with a lot of curve there, but trying to hold on to fifth.
You can just see there, Pappas and Bates were in close quarters as they went into turn one. They're still together coming out of turn number two. Just this is where Leonard and Rao went very wide. Now here, will we get a look at it? This is the area where they go spearing off. Watching. That was where the next lap around we would have seen where they went off. But there was a lot of tyre smoke and dirt and dust and you know what. So Pappas coming back out on track, Matty Cab, which is good news.
Yeah, he will be a couple of laps down, but getting back out there just to circulate and get some points in the series. I did notice through that Jackson Rice moved up to the third position over Dylan Thomas. So Thomas not carrying as much speed as what we saw him in qualifying. It's been his Achilles heel in the first couple of rounds of this series, but did a lot better this weekend with Tim Brooks in his back pocket in the shed.
So Hayden Jackson's up to position 9 now, the Novocastrian. When you think about it, he started in 20th yesterday off the back of the bus due to a clutch failure. Didn't actually get to do any qualifying laps. Greg Keem in 14th. Matt McKeldin in the Kubota entry. I'm sure he's got his lucky charms here this weekend. His beautiful wife Helen and the girls, I'm sure, will be out here supporting Matt here this weekend.
And I think Rusty Wright, we've got to talk about him. He just moved up one position from the start, working his way through the pack. Great to see. He comes back into racing. He goes and does the endurance racing. Then he gets a bit of the bug, says, I've got to get back into this. You know, he said, I thought I was too old. I said, you're not too old. How good is this? You've made the top 10 here already. He's worked his way into 5th position in this race. We're about to go back underway, and great to see him back out there, of course. He's got a major sponsor on the 55 car, the Crew Commercial, which specialises in commercial industrial real estate and leasing in the Gold Coast. So great to see him back in the field as we're about to get back underway with the racing.
To me, he looks like he should be standing on the bow of a yacht on the Whitsundays. Rusty's got that yachty look about him. Crutcher lurking within 10 of the 4 is Nash Morris. We're working lap 8 of 12 in the Super G Autos. Mustang leads from Haynes, from Rice, from Thomas, Wright and Hughes.
Well, Crutcher holding a little bit of damage on the front of that car, so maybe he could have also been involved in that incident. I'm not quite sure, but the front splitter sustaining a fair bit of damage on the number 4 car.
I love that corner. I love that corner. Just drift out on that right-hander as we see McKeldin. Morris stretching out. Haynes, Rice, Thomas, Wright. Gartner all over the back of Hume. That's the battle on screen right there.
And that's that turn number 3. We saw 2 cars just have brake lockups there. It looked like it was Jackson Rice and Rusty Wright. With just a little brake lock-up, they're going to hurt those tyres if they do that too much. So they're going to have to get that under control. Now, Josh Haynes, how much does he save in the tank? Nash Morris hasn't been part of the series. Josh Haynes has a championship that he's chasing. He started this weekend in 4th position.
Absolutely.
So does he worry about Nash Morris at this point, or does he just need to look in his rear vision mirror and keep everyone else at bay?
Oh, I think, when you know Josh, he's a racer and he loves to get after it. You know what's probably frustrating for Jet Johnson, last year's series champ? He's in the pits here this weekend, helping out with Rob Leonard, along with Jet's dad, Stephen Johnson. So Jet's watching guys that he used to race against last year get after it at his home track on Dick Johnson Straight. The straight that's named after his legendary granddad. Oh, look at Nash. The kid's got a lot of car control. What I like about him the most, though, Matty, he's just such a grounded young man.
Yeah,
really pleasant, really affable, and good with us guys from the media.
Yeah, very knowledgeable when you go and talk to him. He doesn't have a big ego on him, because how fast was he in qualifying yesterday? He dominated that first one. As we see Jackson Rice go a little bit wide there, and Dylan Thomas almost takes advantage of it. He wants that position back in the CXC Mustang. At the moment, they're 1 and 2 in the championship. So Jackson Rice in 2nd position, 5 points in it, and it's been a little bit of unlucky for Jackson Rice with a couple of penalties and things through the first couple of rounds. So he just wants to come over the win. Oh no, big off here. Is that Brad Gartner again?
Wow, he's gone in deep. Wowzers. And remember too, at Winton, he ended up buried under the tyre wall there. So something about tyres and Brad Gartner that don't go together. This would have to be a safety car, and it is immediately. I would be surprised if that's not the way this finishes.
Well, he was in 7th position there with Hugh McAllister chasing him down, and now he's gone off there on the exit of turn number 4. That's a big speed to get that far out into the tyre barrier. He's backed the car in there. That's going to be a lot of damage, and yeah, with 3 laps remaining and the recovery we're going to need to do out there, that could see the final race pace of this race, number 2 here in the...
Oh, man! You have to think there's some kind of component, like a brake failure issue or something. Surely he didn't just cannon in there on his own. Wow!
Even the fiberglass off the roof has moved. Look how much the tyre barriers have moved. So I would be surprised if we go racing at all. They're going to have to get that back into position there. So, and good to see that we got the Coulter car in the background as well. So Michael Coulter's made it back out onto the track and circulating. Obviously a very simple fix on that car.
Gee, I got to say, kudos to Queensland Raceway for having a tyre bundle there rather than a wall, because he really went in at high speed there. There's a lot of damage. I'm hoping it's just cosmetic, but that is a lot of damage to the Brad Gartner car. He's such an affable cat. I love having Brad around the game. He's so happy-go-lucky. He certainly looks like the kid you beat up in chemistry. He's got a real quirkiness about him, but man, he's a wheeler. Really versatile racer.
Would you call him a Sheldon?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I go back further than that. Revenge of the Nerds. He's from the Lambda 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 fraternity. Matty's a good racer. Let's go down to Stephen White. Boy, howdy, Whitey. This is going off.
It's too busy, Wade, too busy. Unfortunately, Brad Gartner gone off there. We haven't seen the car. I've obviously heard your call, but I'll just get over to Cam Sendall and have a chat to him. We're obviously looking at the Nicholas Bates car here. It looks like the boys are a bit worried about it may have cracked a rail, so they're going to have another inspection. Looks like a racing incident over towards the braking area of the back straight. But these guys are assured me that the car's going to be out for the next race. I'll get you an update on Brad Gartner and I'll come back to you shortly.
Thank you, Steve-O.
How good does it have Cam Sendall here and the spares truck? We went through that yesterday. That is absolutely incredible.
Dana Bullock too. Dana's an absolute sweetheart. And a black belt in martial arts, and she drives the trucks. We've got a really great TA2 team. Checkered flag has fallen, Matty Cav, on this. We're not surprised about that. Certainly our focus needs to be on Brad Gartner, though. Nash Morris, your winner from Josh Haynes and Jackson Rice in the top three, Matty.
Yeah, and then we see Dylan Thomas will end this one in fourth, and he was fighting over Jackson Rice trying to get that position back. Rusty Wright, though, what a finish for him. Moved his way up into fifth position. Hayden Hume holds on to sixth. Hugh McAllister now promoted to seventh position. Hayden Jackson up to eighth now. We've still got two races to go. Mark Crutcher in ninth. I'll wait to see what happens there with that damage on the front. We didn't see it in the replay. Maybe he has something to do with that. And Graham Cheney in 10th position.
So to your point about Josh Haynes, how hard was he going to push? He's actually the quickest car in the raceway, a 1 minute 13.1. So he was really on it, no doubt about that. But how hard does Nash Morris need to push when he's leading? That is race number 2 for us this weekend. We have 2 more to come later on today.
All thanks to Frame by Hi-Tec, still framing this weekend again, the TA2 Muscle Car Series. Of course, we do head to Morgan Park in just 5 weeks' time for round number 4. It's not that far away, and it's going to be very different inland towards Warwick there. It's going to be very cold conditions. It's relatively warm here at Queensland Raceway today, especially with that cloud cover. We see the humidity start to raise a little bit, but the question is, will we see some raindrops?
And we're even going to iconic places like Calder Park this year. You know, we've already been to Darwin. The championship is really, really starting to pick up momentum. There's talk about New Zealand as well on the radar. Western Australia is really stout now with a really strong culture of the Western Series. So TA2 Muscle Car Series with Peter Robinson at the helm, Craig Denyer, our category manager. I'm just so excited about the future, Matty. It's a tremendous category. Cars look mint, and we've got a really great mix of young guns like Josh Haynes, like Jackson Rice, like Hayden Hume, those kind of guys. And then we've got guys like Rusty Wright, like Mick Rowell, like Greg Keem, like Matty McKeldin. So a little bit of something for everybody. Let's take a look at your highlights, and there were plenty of them in race number 2 today.
All thanks to Hi-Tec Oils. We'll have a look at the start of the race, and Nash Morris got himself into the right position coming into turn number 1, and Josh Haynes did a nice job just to tuck in behind him. Dylan Thomas held on to third. Once again, we have a look under brakes here as they go into 3, and it was off. No, Crutcher was not involved in that one at all, as Nick Bates went off and Nick Pappas, so wow, like we have to try and figure out what was the cause of that. Was there any bump and grind? Was there under brakes?
You have to think something like that has happened, because normally you wouldn't see them both go in like that. Lock up from Rusty Wright just then. That is traditionally the place where you're hardest on the anchors. The bit we're also intrigued about is what happened here. What is the go with Brad Gartner? He just fired in there.
That is high speed.
Absolutely.
That's almost like there was no brakes there. I'm glad he managed to get the car turned around, to be quite honest.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Wow. A bruising affair in race number 2 for round 3 of the TA2 Muscle Car Series, framed by Hi-Tec. The boys are in the pits. They have been having at it. It's cowboy up on a Sunday morning here at Ipswich. Let's go down to Stephen White.
Thanks, Wade. Yeah, with Jackson Rice, 3rd place, Jackson. Good start to Sunday morning.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, it's a shame we finished under safety car, but we just go there and do what we do. We just want to finish. You know, it's good. Put a points grab back on Dylan, and you know, he was chasing me really hard, put me under pressure. So happy to finish where we are, and you know, hopefully move forward for the rest of the weekend.
Good on you. No worries. We'll move over to Josh Haynes, who's obviously a well-deserved 2nd place.
He gave you a little bit of a wink then, Whitey.
He did.
You got Did you see that, Matty?
Oh, I'm looking younger every day. Don't worry about that. Josh Haynes, well done. 2nd place, 2 out of 2. How's that?
Yeah, really good. The team's done a stellar job, obviously, setting up the car here. We're versing against some blokes, at their home track, done a lot of laps. But yeah, I feel like we had a bit of pace to burn in that race. I don't know what that last safety car was, but yeah, really happy. Grabbing a great bunch of points. I'd just like to thank Beaches Sea-Doo, Chapman Floor Coverings, Herzog Steel, SOS Recruitment, Carbids and Elvin Group for sticking by me. It's been a good weekend. We've got 2 big ones to go this Savo.
Josh, well done, mate. We'll see you in the next race. Josh does a great job of social media, so he rattled off all these sponsors very well, so well done. And Nash Morris, congratulations, 2 out of 2.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Not sure if we'd call that one much of a race, but it was still good to get the win, obviously. Yeah, Super Cheap Auto Mustang was pretty good then, so we'll see how we go in the next 2.
Obviously, yesterday's race was a pretty convincing win. Today, you were obviously in a good position. How's the car travelling and how are you feeling as far as Queensland Raceway goes? Is this the best you feel the car's been here?
Probably wasn't as good that race. Josh had a fair bit of pace on me then, so I just got a pretty good restart and tried to manage that gap. But yeah, we'll try and tune her up for the next 2.
No worries, thanks Nash. And
Wow.
just an update on Brad Gartner, guys.
Yes, mate.
Obviously, we're not sure what happened there. The car is there with the medical team back, so we'll give you an update as soon as we can. He appears to be okay, but yeah, it looks like it was a mechanical failure, but I'm not sure, so I won't jump to any conclusions. We'll chat to the team when we can.
Yeah, wow, that was a scary moment though, Matty Cav, I got to say. Nash saying we need to do more with the car. Wow. He noticed that Josh was making ground on him. There's the points so far. Of course, we have 2 more races still to go, Matty.
Yeah, Nash Morris will bag 120 points. And Josh Haynes with a very important 112 points there. Jackson Rice just gets the position over Dylan Thomas, who are fighting out for our #1 position in the championship at the moment. Russell Wright in 5th position. Hayden Hume gets 96 points as well. Hugh McAllister, Hayden Jackson, Graham Cheney and Mark Crutch all round out our 10 there. You can see it's getting very tight at the top of the championship. There's 4 or 5 people in the run at the moment, and we'll have to wait and see how that all unfolds over this weekend, because this is the halfway point when we finish today of the championship. There's going to be a few contenders who are here to race and win some racing. There's going to be a few who might change what they want to do in the championship and just look to keep bagging those points.
Boy, what's going to be going on in the pits right now? It is going to be busy down there. Some ripper shots from the air from our drone shot here. Tony Quinn has done a phenomenal job upgrading this facility. It's been quite a while since I've been to Queensland Raceway, and the whole place has had a lick of paint. It really looks good. Canteen is fantastic. The whole facilities for the pits and everything. Tony has done a wonderful job. He's really given the old girl a birthday. And what a great motorsport complex as well. You've of course got Willowbank drag racing just down the road. You've got karting. You've got motorcycle speedway. So much to go on here at Willowbank Raceway, Matty.
Yeah, it's plenty going on. We've got hire carts down there. It's a real hive of festivities here for all of our people that have come and joined us here at the 2 Days of Thunder, and we thank them all for coming. Yeah, there. So, I mean, these great drone shots show us this new section of the track as well as it goes through the switchback they've put in recently. So we've seen these different configurations through some of the other categories that are racing. 8 categories, almost 200 cars here this weekend. You know, you were talking to one of my mates who used to race back in the V8 Ute glory days back in the day. Always a pretty good proprietor of indoor go-kart centres. These days, very handy, still around Queensland Raceway. Cam Wilson and Matty Cav.
We're here with Cam Wilson, who's joined us as part of the EFS 4x4 Hyundai Excel Australian Cup Series that's kicking off here at Queensland Raceway. Not only that, you've got pole position for the first race.
Yeah, very happy to get pole for the team. Worked, with the draft here is a big thing, so I worked with a few of our teammates and good friends, and good to see we each helped each other just get that little bit quicker, and I believe for the 3 or 4 of us, we're all pretty much 1, 2, 3, 4, so I'm very happy.
You got yourself a couple of championships in Hyundai Excel Racing. What is it that keeps bringing you back to this category?
Yeah, I've done a lot of different racing in different things over the times. I started out 20-something years ago in Geminis here in Queensland. Similar sort of category, but this is 10 times better. I've done some utes and things like that. Best thing with this is, like, bang for buck, the closeness of the racing, and then the racecraft game that sort of comes into it. It's just awesome. There's nothing that I've raced that comes close. The drafting effect and all that, the pack racing, everyone's got to work in with sort of each other, give each other a bit of love and room, But you can run around this track even, you can run 2 wide the whole way and only be half a second off the outright absolute pace, by getting that benefit of the draft. The racing is going to be awesome.
What is it like having so many young competitors in the category to really push you?
I'm 48 now, so I find it awesome, to be honest with you. I've sort of had the last couple of years off, effectively, and managed to step back in, and I don't know, it makes me feel more youthful, certainly being able to run with them. They're fast, you know, and they're hungry. Maybe I'm not quite as fast outright, but I've got a bit of experience, and that certainly plays out a little bit. And knowing when to go and when to sort of hold back. You can certainly drive these cars to the death where then they're no good at the end of the race. And of course, at the end of the day, what really matters is the last lap, being there, having the car still good for the last lap. So, but I love the fact people as young as 15 are, you know, racing against and fast, you know. It's awesome. It's such a good category.
What's it like now to have a national series and be able to visit other tracks and accumulate those championship points?
Oh, look, I think it's fantastic, really. I think it's been a while coming, and to get it to come together the way it has, under the direction of Brett Peters, you know, that category here in Queensland, Track Attack, was really the founding fathers of Hyundai Excel's racing in Australia, and to see them then embrace what we've got going on here is just awesome. Their rules, the way they run it, and the way the ASI guys are dealing with everything, it's just been really, really cool. Super stoked. You know, we're on the Nankang tyres as a controlled tyre. They're the perfect tyre for the car, they really are. They're absolutely fantastic. So I couldn't be happier to be racing this category. And if you're thinking about getting into racing, honestly, you need to look at getting into these via Track Attack and the Australian Excel Super Series that we're doing here. Absolutely.
Well, you're on the front row for race one. Let's see if you can bring it home.
Thank you very much. We'll be looking forward to a great race. Thank you.
No worries. And back down to pit lane here, I've got Rob Leonard in the number 40 Mustang. How was that race for you, Rob?
That was a hell of a lot better than yesterday, I can tell you. We did a few changes to the car. It feels really good. So I think 20th to 14th, I was over the moon.
Yeah, a bit action-packed, obviously, and a couple of safety cars there, which you probably were positioned in a position to sort of avoid that stuff.
Yep.
How are you looking for the next race? Obviously, this car was new at the start of the year for you.
Yes, it was.
So, obviously, looking forward to getting through this weekend and having a good run?
Absolutely, definitely. Look, we're improving the car every time we go out, and then even through, you know, Friday and then yesterday, and it's just getting better. The good thing was I could keep the guys behind me that were behind me, so I know that I've actually genuinely got that 14th now, and hopefully we'll hang on to that and move forward a bit more.
It looks like you've got a new bloke with you that's just learning all about this game.
New apprentice. Motor racing is done.
So Steve Johnson, interesting for you. You're obviously prepping Rob's car, and I think Jet's here as well. How's it going for the weekend, and how's this progressing for you as a preparation and Team Johnson looking after race cars?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you know, we've known Rob and myself and his wife Jill go back a long, long time, back in the supercar days and so forth, and close friends of our family, and you know, just very cool. He came out and he was watching Jet a few years ago racing in the TA2 Championship when he first started, and thought, this is pretty cool, I wouldn't mind giving this a go. And here he is now. He bought an older car, and now this year he's got a new car, and we're prepping it for him. Bit of driver training and you know, making some big steps this weekend already, which is great. So we'll just keep pushing on, and you know, as I said to him, you know, it's all about enjoying it and having fun, and you know, we're all competitive, we all want to do well, but if we can get through races like today without making any mistakes, we're always going to move forward. So, you know, I guess that first box has been ticked now. We need to keep doing that the next two races.
And obviously the platform of the TA2 car is something that you can work on, something you can change, something you can alter, but obviously strictly controlled in various areas, and so that makes that, if you like, that baseline pretty simple, and then you work from there. And that's obviously improving Rob, but certainly your, you know, engineering of that is obviously helping with that, and the TA2 car lends itself to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is very tightly controlled. You know, there are specific things you can change setup-wise, but we, you know, obviously with running Jet the last couple of years, we've found a pretty good sweet spot with him, and had good pace in the car with him. At the moment, you know, with Rob's driving, he's improved massively from last year. Can't quite set the car up exactly how we had it with Jet. It's a little bit hard, but we'll get there, you know what I mean? So it's a matter of just changing a few little things to make it comfortable for Rob, and then he's making leaps and bounds every time he goes out on the track in his own driving, and obviously knowing where to go, where to position himself. We're getting to the point now where he's getting that down pat, so I'm going to need to start sort of coaching the racecraft side of things now, and we'll get him up there muscling a few of these other guys out of the way.
Yeah, sounds good, sounds good. I'd be remiss of me not to mention Jet. Obviously Jet's progressing along and competing in Super 3 this year. How's his progress going, and how are you guys situated for the rest of the year?
Yeah, good. We've got just too few and far between, you know, only 6 races for the year, and we're not racing for another month until Townsville, but doing really well. just that next step up again, this step here is just ideal between pretty much anything, whether it be Hyundai Excels, 86s, whereas a lot of the guys don't seem to run these style of cars. And it's a massive step to Super 3, Super 2. So for Jet's sort of 1.5 to 2 years in Trans Am and TA2 was, great for him building what we're trying to do, obviously, as a lot of young kids are wanting to get to supercars. And I think for him, the same. But he's found out that, the step from Hyundai's to the TA2 is quite big, and the step from TA2 to Super 3 is just as big and just as competitive. So we're enjoying it. We're having a great time. And, as I said to him, we're focusing on going and enjoying our racing at the moment because the pressure comes later on. At the moment, you put pressure on yourself to do well. I want him to enjoy it because later on, if he is able to make it as a professional race driver, that's when the expectation is to win all the time. And you've got sponsor commitments, you've got, there's so many things, there's so much work outside of the race car you've got to do just to be a good race driver. And that's why we see guys like SVG excelling because he puts in way more work off the track than most others.
No worries. Well, that's brilliant to hear, and thanks for the update, Steve. Well done, Rob. I've been trying to get you for the last couple of rounds, so well done today.
Thank you.
Good luck for the rest of the day.
Cheers. Thanks very much for that.
No worries. Thanks, Rob. Back to you, Lockie.
The recovery mission is continuing here at Queensland Raceway. That looks like an enormous amount of damage to the rear of Brad Gartner's TA2 car. There will be a bit of a clean-up job to ensure that the circuit's in a safe condition for a resumption of play here at Queensland Raceway. But we have a number of local categories on the program this weekend, and one of the fastest growing Queensland categories is the Replica Tourer Trophy Series. And earlier on, Stephen caught up with one of the competitors from the series, Ian Woodward.
It's a big weekend here at the 2 Days of Thunder, a part of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series, but we're down in the Replica Tourer. Ian Woodward, fantastic start, position 3 after qualifying.
Yeah, fantastic. We were tickled pink with that. It's great fun. Absolutely brilliant category. Car's going well. We had a little issue then with the clutch, went to the floor after 2 laps, but we're on top of it now. It's just a slave cylinder. But I can't speak highly enough of what the guys have done with this. 34 cars in the second year. Who would have ever thought? Like, it's just been stunning.
We've been walking up and down the pits here for the Replica Tourers. Everyone's got a smile on their face. What is it like to be part of the series?
It's really family orientated. There's no egos. It's quite a very comfortable category to be involved with. Everybody just gets on. Everyone's helping one another with different issues on cars. And overall, I just think it's got so much in future. It's just got a long way to go. It's going to get wings. It's going to take off for sure.
And with a number of entries this weekend, the variety of cars out there is very impressive. How do you find it racing against front-wheel drive 4-cylinder cars compared to the big V8 you've got?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's good. There's no reason why they shouldn't be there. Like all categories, I think it's getting to the stage where the category is getting so big, we'll end up having probably up to 3 litre, then 3 litre and over shortly. Which it'd be a shame in a way because it's great because the smaller cars are great under brakes. They're good through the nimble corners, but then the bigger cars run them down the straight, But it's good. A lot of the younger guys, they start off in the small cars and some of them already, like young Skulls, he's already into a V8 car and doing really well.
Well, good luck this weekend. We hope to see you with some results out there on the track.
Mate, love it. Thanks so much to Hi-Tec and everybody involved. It's a brilliant series and it's going places.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Great to hear from Ian Woodward there. I do have, Michael Coulter with me in the number 11 Camaro from the Cabelco Camaro. Interesting race for you, Michael. You've had to come in to do a quick repair and keep going. What happened?
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought we'll race over. The throttle just seemed to be nothing there. I put my foot down after turn 4 and dancing around looking for my pedals. So I managed to just pull up on the grass and and then got towed in and put it straight in the shed. And Greg and Darryl, mate, they're freaks, mate. They got straight onto it and they dived in, mate. Literally feet hanging out the window. I'm coming out to watch the end of the race, mate, and bingo, they're yelling out, "Get back in the car, quick, let's go." I'm thinking, what's going on here? So managed to make it back out. I think we were about P19 for the end of the race, but it is what it is. So that's racing. So we'll look forward for later on today.
Obviously the car's going well and you've been going well off your Darwin. Unfortunately a bad ending there, but your car pace was great and a great result on the Saturday with your dad Steve, who's wandering around here.
Yeah.
How are you feeling for this weekend? How's the car recovered from Darwin and how are you looking?
Yeah, no, look, the car was fine. We did a few mechanical repairs up there on the back of the tilt tray just so we could get it off the tilt tray. But yeah, once we got it off the truck, you know, it was back on all four wheels. We loaded it up, mate, and brought it home, and we put it back in our COVID shed, we call it, in the race shed back home, and, you know, stripped it right down, pulled all the panels off, made it look pretty, and yeah, here we are for another song and dance. So cars, look, the car's good this weekend. It's not one of my personal favourite tracks. I think there's just too much weight behind the wheel, but, you know, as long as we keep moving forward, that's all I want to keep doing.
All right, it's good on you, Michael, and good luck for race 3. Back to you guys.
Well, he's a very different Michael Coulter here in Queensland. We saw him swimming around in a pool at the back of the sheds in Darwin where it was very sweltering hot up there, very humid, and he's got the race suit on today. It's a little bit cooler with that cloud cover we've got here at Queensland Raceway at the moment, Lockie, but he's still got a smile on his face. That's what we love about the Coulters and the Cabelco Camaro.
And the thing that I most love about the Coulters is that it's always such a family affair. Both Michael and his dad Steve, they always go racing together as a family. We saw that they shared the car up at Hidden Valley at the Kings of the North race meeting, and Michael's dad Steve has had a lot of success in various categories over the years, including super trucks as well. But fantastic job from all of our officials and recovery crews here at Queensland Raceway. They have managed to get the car of Brad Gartner recovered back to the pits. They've managed to repair the circuit there at turn number 4. That was a monumental crash. Brad Gartner's car flying off the road at pretty much unabated speed backwards into the tyre wall. So, as you can imagine, Matty, a fair bit of work's been done just to make sure the circuit is in a safe condition to resume racing, because as uncommon an occurrence it is for cars to go flying off the road at that sort of speed and end up that far off the racetrack at turn 4, it is still a possibility. So we need to make sure that everything is repaired in the unlikely event of another car finding its way off there.
Yeah, all those drone shots we just saw showed you how far back that tyre barrier is, so the speed that he has carried off the track there. A lot of damage. We know these are very repairable cars. We've got the trucks out the back with all the spares. Maybe we'll see Brad Gartner back out for the next race. It's probably going to take a fair bit of time, maybe the final race. But in the meantime, plenty more racing happening here at the 2 days of Thunder, which we've joined here as part of the Hi-Tec All Super Series. And the Porsche Cup out on track now, which we've seen them do 2 races already this weekend, and a varying different Porsches out there. It's not one category of Porsche, it's the Club of Queensland.
Indeed it is. So let's have a look at the grid positions for this race. So we've got Tom McLennan on pole position in his Porsche 991 Mark II GT3 Cup car. Ryder Quinn, who has been a star in the GT4 Porsche Cayman, lining up alongside him on the front row. Shane Wilson out of grid position number 3 in his 997 Mark II. Wayne Hennig, who's in a brand new 992 GT3 Cup car this weekend, out of 4th position. Back to Kevin Venelago, who is the motorsport director for the Porsche Club of Queensland, out of 5th position. And then it's Shane Freaks, Sven Cormans and David Lees rounding out the field. We had a couple of sprint races yesterday for the Porsches, Matty. This morning it's a slightly longer 35-minute race, and that's pretty consistent with the format that's used for the other national level Porsche categories here in Australia, the Porsche Michelin Sprint Challenge and the Porsche Carrera Cup Australian Championship, where they'll run a couple of sprint races, but generally on race weekends they will have a longer distance race as well.
Yeah, so we'll get them out there. 35 minutes will be the race time for this. At the end of that, they will complete the lap and we'll see who is going to be the winner. Tom McLennan has dominated this weekend, qualifying, winning both sprint races. What can Ryder Quinn do? It is not the big horsepower like we see from the 991 in the GT4. Oh, around the outside already was there contact made. 2 cars spinning out.
Wayne Hennig and Shane Wilson coming together at turn number 1. They've been engaged in a pretty hot contest all weekend, and unfortunately Sven Cormans there, in trying to take evasive action, has also spun into the gravel at turn number 1, and I would imagine that this would trigger another intervention from our safety car here at Queensland Raceway.
It will probably have to if those cars cannot get out of that gravel trap, and high speed coming around the corner. We'll check out a replay here, and the first 2 cars get through. Wow, he tries to go around the outside there in the number 11 Wayne Hennig, and Shane Wilson just up on the ripple strip. They make a slight amount of contact and the cars spin out. Unfortunately, we see Hennig just spin off there, and I'm not quite sure how we ended up with Sven Cormans in the background, probably trying to avoid any contact from another car, and ends up out on the gravel. Now they are reversed up and not wanting to go too far. The last thing you want to do is try and and dig out that gravel when you try and drive out in these cars, especially with those front splitters, that they're not a cheap race car, the Porsches. And there's no such thing as a cheap race car, but the Porsche's definitely up there on the scale.
That's unfortunate for Wayne Henning. Like I said, it's first weekend for him racing that brand new 992 GT3 Cup car. It's been very much a learning exercise for him this weekend because it's got completely different suspension geometry compared to the previous 997 that he was racing. But there we go. So that's the answer to what happens for Sven Cormans. Basically, he had to go to the outside to avoid making contact with those two spinning cars, and unfortunately that's resulted in him ending up in the gravel trap as well. The good news, Matty, I don't think there's much damage to any of those three cars, so they all should be able to resume the race, albeit a lap or two down on our race leaders.
Yeah, just got very unlucky there being the third car in the line. The first two got through, and like you say, a very soft entry into the gravel trap, really, compared to what we saw. Turn one's normally very high speed. Luckily, just the start of the race there, the incident had already happened. They were already getting off the accelerator, but the amount of gravel being dragged out on the track, we're going to have a quick clean up of that as well. And we could have the landscapers in here after this weekend, I think. We've already seen so much of it make its way into pit lane. Maybe we'll have to get a gravel truck down here and refill those at the end of today. We'll have to wait and find out. But the Porsche Cup still with 32 minutes running on the clock of racing left to go, and look at the amount of gravel that's coming out of the car as he tries to make sure everything is okay. That is a big clean-up.
Indeed it is, and hopefully none of that gravel has found its way into the brake ducts or into the radiator ducts as we head down to Stephen White for an update from pit lane.
Thanks, Lockie. And I have with me Nicholas Bates. Obviously, unfortunately, Nicholas, that off in the first race there, or first race for today. Yep. The boys are working hard, and you're on the tools as well. Will you be right for the next race?
We should be. Like, it's just broken the steering arm, so we got practice that, changing that yesterday. So we'll just do it again and fix the splitter up and get it back out there and start the rear of the grid and see what we can do.
Obviously, you haven't seen any other footage or anything like that, and you guys will chat about that after that. The main focus is getting the car ready. Yep. Obviously, in this position, the boys have got a lot of, as you can see, a lot of gravel to clean up. You're obviously just stuck in there once you got in there?
Yeah, I tried to get out, but the steering was broken anyway, so even if I'd got out, it wouldn't have gone anywhere. It would have just been dragging on the road, so no chance to get it going yet, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, we're talking to you because of this, but what's it like being back in your car after driving Josh's car at Darwin?
Yeah, it's nice. It is really nice. I struggle in his car a lot. They're set up quite differently, and he does a fantastic job of driving it because I couldn't. But we managed to sort of bring it home, which was good. But yeah, it's really nice to be in my own car and cause my own problems.
No worries. All right. Well, we'll let you keep going. Thanks, guys. I'll continue to keep you updated with the Brad Gartner situation. But for right now, the boys have got a bit of work to do on Nick's car.
Yeah, Steve, I think you need to keep that broom on you when you're walking around down there and start handing that one out. Maybe we need to get a wheelbarrow for Steve.
Maybe we need to get one of Coulter's excavators in there because the amount of gravel that's been dug out of the circuit in the last couple of races.
Yeah, ring Cabelco. Maybe we can get a digger down here. I think we'll have to wait and find out. Schaefer Nick Bates, third in the championship when it comes to the TO2 muscle cars, leading the Masters category as well in that. So hasn't been a great weekend for him. Didn't qualify where he wanted to. Got in the top 10 shootout. And thought, wow, look at this. And didn't really string a good lap together yesterday in race number 1. Didn't really go his way either. So Nick Bates with a broken steering arm. If you just joined us here on the coverage of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series round number 3, we're at Queensland Raceway, just outside of Brisbane, 45 minutes west in the Ipswich region. Great little area, Willowbank. We've got not only the facilities here at Queensland Raceway, obviously the drag strip and the go-karts and everything in this region. So a little motorsports sanctuary, I suppose, out here in Willowbank. But it's great to see the improvements that have been made here at Queensland Raceway since Tony Quinn taking operation a couple of years ago. And not just the buildings, we've got the switchback now on the track too, so it's added an element. We saw some of the cars racing that last night.
Effectively, it's added a different configuration to the Queensland layout. So you're right, we saw some races on the switchback layout yesterday, which increases what's normally a 6-corner layout here at QR to 10 corners, and it changes the character of the circuit. It makes it a lot more technical as well.
Here we go, the safety car making its way off. The lights are off. We'll have a single file restart on this one as part of the Porsche Club Queensland Racing. 29 minutes left. It's 35 minutes cap. We're not talking laps, we're talking time. 29 minutes still remaining in this, and Tom McLennan will lead us out. Ryder Quinn in second, and it will be Kevin Villego in third position now after the other cars coming together there. Looks like they've already joined us for the race though, which is great to see.
And Tom McLennan gets us back underway in his Porsche GT3 Cup car. He's been competing in the Porsche Michelin Sprint Challenge this year. There is Wayne Hennig. He has rejoined the race. Like I said, not really any damage to that car, but he is now a couple of laps down on the race leaders. Unfortunately, the entry of Shane Wilson has had to come back into the pit, so obviously that contact with Hennig in turn number 1 has caused a bit of damage to Shane Wilson's car. But look at Ryder Quinn right up behind Tom McLennan, as we see that Wilson has in fact rejoined the circuit now, but he's about to be lapped by our race leaders. Ryder Quinn has been an absolute superstar in that GT4 car so far this weekend, because theoretically it should not have the pace of the Porsche GT3 Cup cars. Ryder Quinn has been driving wheels off it, and he said that it's a car that's very much designed to be a comfortable package for non-professional drivers. So it's got driver aids like ABS and traction control. It's even got climate control air conditioning, which Ryder Quinn has cracked up to 30 degrees this weekend because he wants the cockpit to be nice and hot in preparation for Hidden Valley in a couple of weeks, where he'll be just behind the wheel of his McEllister Racing Porsche Carrera Cup car.
Yeah, he said, I've got it all the way up to 30 degrees. He said, I can barely touch the roll cage when I get out. The heat are blowing on it. But great conditions here today at Queensland Raceway. We haven't seen any of that stuff fall from the sky too much this morning, but it's overcast, it's nice and cool here. And Ryder Quinn doing a fantastic job in the GT4 to maintain that pace. And Tom McLennan, who's out in front of the 991, looks like he's just started to find his groove again, though temperature probably coming back into those tyres, starts to grow up a little bit more, and he's just opening up a gap now. We'll have to see in the background, will Hennig and Wilson start to make their way back through the pack? Corman's wasn't quite as quick as them in the first 2 races yesterday, so we might see them get an overtake on him. But leading us out, it is Tom McLennan at the moment in the Porsche 991.
It's a 991 Mark II, so basically the way it works is that superseded Carrera Cup cars then become eligible for the Porsche Michelin Sprint Challenge, which is the second tier of national level Porsche competition. So at the moment it's the 992 Cup cars that run in Carrera Cup, the 991 Mark II and also the 991 Mark I cars run in the Porsche Michelin Sprint Challenge. And some of the older cars run in state level categories like this one. Back to Steve in the pits.
Yeah, thanks, Lockie. I've got with me Hayden Hume with a number 45 Dodge TA2 car. Hayden, well done in that last race. You've obviously qualified the top 10 for the weekend, but you're doing well.
Yeah, thanks. The goal was to be in the top 5. Obviously, as a couple of fast youngsters like myself in the field, the goal was to compete with them. I qualified amongst them. Race 1, I was amongst them, but unfortunately I lost a place to Russell Wright in that race. Fortunately, it was plagued by a safety car for the whole time, so I didn't really get the chance to kind of fight back. But we put some tyres in the bank for the later race, and we'll see how we go.
So you're obviously doing 2 out of 86 as well. So you've got a full program this year, but you look to do this as a bit of a learning year for TA2 and then move on next year.
Yeah, for sure. We did the full Toyota 86 season last year. We're doing it again this year, but having an addition to the garage is pretty cool. These things are a different beast to drive, and it teaches you how to drive a race car, and I've had a lot of fun, a lot of learning currently in this series. But yeah, ultimately this is learning, but I do want to set up a good foundation for when I race this full time.
And obviously the big difference between the 2 cars, the Toyota 86 and this car, is vastly different vehicles. How are you going adjusting to that? Does it take you a little bit of time when you get in the car for the first time round, on a Friday, for example?
Yeah, for sure. Switching from car to car isn't the easiest thing ever, but right-hand drive to left-hand drive, 6-speed versus a 4-speed, 500 horsepower versus 200 horsepower, so it's pretty different, but the underlying techniques are the same. But yeah, for sure it teaches you a lot about, I guess, tyre management, heat management, kind of being smart in a race situation. But yeah, it's all still learning for me.
Well done. Well, good on you. Good luck for the rest of the weekend, and well done.
Yeah, great to catch up with Hayden Hume, and he's right, left-hand drive vehicles, a TA2 muscle car, and you're shifting gears with your right hand. So that's going to be very different than what you're normally driving around on the street.
And I don't think you can undervalue the importance of young drivers switching between different types of cars. From a driver development perspective, learning to adapt between different types of race cars that require different driving techniques to get the most out of them. It's such a valuable thing to be able to do, and that's why you look at people like Dylan Thomas who've raced in lots of different types of categories, why they're so successful, because they're versatile. They're able to adapt quickly between different types of cars.
So Tom McLennan still leading this Porsche Cup race here at Queensland Raceway, with Ryder in second and Kevin Velago in third position. But we'll head back down to Steve in pit lane.
Thanks, Matty. I have with me championship leader at the minute, Dylan Thomas. How was that race for you?
Wasn't actually too good. The boys, we put a bit too low pressures. Yesterday we had the tyre sitting out in the sun, so we tried to go a little bit different in temperature, in pressures, but it was a little bit low. So that opening lap, quite a lot of understeer at the start there, which allowed Jack. I had to come off the gas through 2. Jackson got next to me. He had the line into 3, so we got the position. He was locking up brakes, though. We didn't have really any racing laps, unfortunately. I think there was 3 racing laps. He was locking brakes, so we were all over him. I can't help but feel we absolutely would have got him back, but if buts and maybes don't count, we finished 4th, so we'll have to go do a better job in this next race, and we'll learn from that one, and look after our pressures for the next one, and go good.
Obviously, you had Tim Brook here over the last couple of days. How's that gone for you, and how's that worked for you? Obviously, you've spoken about a continuation of that arrangement with Tim helping with the car and being another voice. How have you found that over this last couple of days?
Yeah, no, it's been really good. I mean, the thing that Tim brings to the table is his attention to detail is really good. So, I'm probably a little bit old school, feel of my pants. Car feels good, all right, go drive it. Whereas Tim sits there and really, ultra analyses stuff. And so what he brings to the table is that last little bit. So, so that definitely helped us in qualifying. And obviously, the direction for the car. I mean, we weren't far away with our setup, so Brooksy was was fine-tuning it. So we're in a pretty good spot anyway. But yes, he definitely brings that last level of attention to detail that we probably lack a little bit.
All right, no worries. And obviously the next couple of races will be all about maintaining that position. We're not talking championship yet, but we're certainly talking about trying to be consistent and keep that pace up.
Yeah. Sorry, big buzzer there. The goal at the start of the race, the start of the season, was if we can be top 4 every race, we'll be in championship contention come Calder. So very much too early to talk championship, but the reality is Jackson and I are probably pretty close on points. I got him in the first one, he's got me on the second one, so we've got to make sure at least get him at least one of the next 2, so that we at least try and keep that battle nice and tight all the way through.
And just for the moment, for everyone watching, what happens now? The boys are just going through the car, they might tidy up things, or they might another set of, you might have some other tyres you want to try in the next race, or just general maintenance and general just check around?
Yeah, so straight after every race there'll be a spanner check on everything. Tyres will come off. You'll see the boys will do a tread depth gauge to see what our tyre wear was. We'll put our best tyres in where we want them, and then we also had a little bit of a notchy steering wheel, so just out of precaution we're actually going to do a steering rack change here as well. Sometimes when you get a sign of something not quite right, it's safer just to replace it, because that's the thing that's going to bite your butt later.
No worries. All right, well, good luck for the rest of the day, and thanks, Dylan, for chatting to us. Thanks. Back to you guys.
I love how coy he was about that. We'll put our tyres where we want to. He wasn't going to give it away how they do it, was he? Just in case someone a bit late might get something up at him. But we love chatting with Dylan Thomas, and he talked about him and Jackson Rice getting one for each other there in their position. But Josh Haynes was a little bit back in 4th position in the championship, but he's got 2 second places from 2. So he is slowly creeping up, and it could be a 3-way battle as we go into round number 4 at Morgan Park in 5 weeks. So we're still 2 races to go, though. Lots could happen throughout that. Back to our race here, race number 3 for the Porsche Carrera Cup, or the Porsche Cup cars, I should say, not Carrera Cup. But obviously, like you say, they're not racing, they're not the latest 992s that we see in the Porsche Carrera Cup. We do have one of them out there, though, and how interesting is that to see that he's just bought this car and he's trying to get familiar with it.
And Wayne Hennig, he's raced Porsches for a long time. He competed in the Porsche Cup, the National Porsche Cup, which was basically the predecessor to Carrera Cup back in the late 90s and early 2000s, driving an older model 993 GT2, one of the older air-cooled Porsches, and then we saw him upgrading to one of the newer 997s, and he's just purchased the new 992. And as I was saying before, it's quite a different sort of car to the previous generation 991, because the suspension geometry's changed. It's also a more powerful engine, and so managing that rear wheel spin is something that Wayne has had to adapt to, as it looks like Steve's got another update for us down in the pits.
Yes, I'm just here talking to Bernie Walsh, driver of the number 52 Mustang. Bernie, we're just chatting before. This is your home track, and this car is new, well, effectively a car that you purchased late last year, was it? That's right. And obviously you're racing it and you're doing a great job.
Oh, thanks, yeah, I'm trying. It's not easy out there. They're quite competitive. It's definitely a fast field.
And your history, or your racing history, is around supercars you're talking about?
Yeah, I used to race supercars in 2011 and 2012 and in the 90s for a couple of years.
So why a TA2 car?
I kind of felt like I'd done supercuts enough and wanted something different, and these seemed like a lot of fun to race.
How are you finding the setup and the change of the car, and as the car goes during a race? Obviously different, totally the other end of the spectrum, but something that you're able to work on and work with?
Yeah, definitely. You need some experts involved to help you get it going in the right direction, I think. So I've got a few good people helping me, and it's kind of getting better. Yeah, it's going okay.
And the platform's something that you can work off, so once you make a gain or you understand a bit more about the car, you can keep going and keep moving in the direction you want to.
Yeah, there's a lot to the braking technique and the steering techniques. A lot to it all.
Fantastic. Well done. We'll hope to see you in the next couple of races. Thanks, Bernie. Thanks, guys.
Bernard on the entry form. We discussed that earlier. But he looks like a Bernie, doesn't he?
and what a contrast between the types of vehicles that he's raced. Supercars, which are tiny, really close to the ground, and then stepping into something completely different. A TA2 car with its V8 engine, wide body shell, high amount of horsepower.
And some big sidewall tyres. They're only a 15-inch rim of those. They are some big Hoosiers. As the battle's going to get back on between these two as they go at it again. We saw the incident on turn number 1. They made a little bit of contact, unfortunately, and it looks like this time, though, Hennig's going to just let Shane Lewison get back into that position as he moves forward.
There is a compulsory pit stop to be taken by each car in this race, where it'll be a mandatory time that they'll have to be stationary in the pits, and during that pit stop the pit crew members can re-pressure the tyres. That'll probably be the main adjustment that they'll make to the car, but just to add a bit of a strategic element to this race. But great to have the Porsche Club of Queensland. It's a very well-subscribed Porsche club. As I mentioned, Kevin Venelago, who currently runs third in this race, he's the motorsport director for the club. And basically, it's about giving Porsche owners the opportunity to ease themselves into the motorsport experience. So it'll start off with just doing recreational events on the road, where you might go out for a Sunday drive with other Porsche owners. From there, you can progress to track days, where you come and test the limits of your Porsche on the circuit. From there you might progress to Super Sprint, where it becomes a bit more competitive, and they'll actually put a stopwatch on you to see how fast you can go around the circuit. And then from there you progress into the Porsche Queensland Cup, which is what we're racing at the moment, wheel-to-wheel racing with other cars. So yeah, it's a good way for, obviously Porsches are pretty expensive exotic cars, so you don't want to get into an environment where you're not competent and don't have the experience to exploit the limits of your car safely.
Definitely a great way of building your confidence as you come into your racing career, I suppose. If you want to then get a Porsche and you're enjoying it, I mean, just to go out and do the cruises with everybody else, I suppose, and talk to those experiences. Great shots down there, as you can see them just checking over some of the tyres to check the wear. They need to go through and decide whether they've done damage this one. And we're just having a look as they circle that. Is it peeling? Is that what they're looking at through there?
Could be a bit of a flat spot. One of the things that we saw in that race, Matty, for the TA2 cars, particularly after the safety car restart, was that there were a number of drivers that were locking brakes. We saw Jackson Rice with a few brake lock-ups into turn number 3. And typically what happens there is the tyre will keep locking up in the same spot, and eventually it'll wear down to the canvas. So with only 6 tyres permitted for each TA2 competitor across qualifying and the 4 races this weekend, managing tyres is critical, and by the time you get to race number 4 later on this afternoon, you'll be trying to work out what the best tyres are that you've got left to put on your car for that race.
Well, as a strategy, no matter what race car it is, it's do you use your tyres up early and win a couple of races early, or do you worry about your tyre management late in the race and try and get the 20-lap race, which we'll finish off today with? So it could go either way from them. Predominantly they're right-hand turns. There's six turns to get around. There's only a couple of left-hand ones.
Well, that's the other unique thing about Queensland Raceway. I mean, most other circuits that we go to have more of a mixture of left and right-hand corners, whereas here at QR, because you do have predominantly right-handers, especially through turns 1 and 2, which are very high-speed corners, it is the left-hand side of the car that is what we describe as the load or the working side of the car. So definitely it'll be the left-hand tyres that wear out a bit more quickly and are subjected to a bit more pressure. So rotating the tyres around the car will be the other way that they try and even out the tyre wear, as we see some more drivers coming in to complete their compulsory pit stops. How good is it to have Porsches running here at Queensland Raceway as part of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series the week before the Le Mans 24-hour? Yeah, which will have Porsche with quite a prominence in that classic endurance race. Back down to Steve.
I've got Hayden Jackson with me in the 81 Dodge. How are you going, and how did you go with that race? 8th, fantastic effort.
Yeah, we made up 4 spots in that one. We're struggling a little bit with some understeer, but we're up to 8th, so we're pretty happy with that one. And yeah, see how the next race goes, eh?
So Hayden, what have you done before TA2? And obviously you're following the series this year, which is fantastic. And you were at Darwin, so how wonderful is that? But you're following the series this year, but what have you done before that?
Yeah, so we're fully committed to TA2 this year. So the last 5 years we've done the Gazoo Racing Series in the Toyotas. And that was a lot of fun. We're sort of running up the front with that and then decided to step up into these big beasts.
Is this just the natural step, something out of that, to go to a rear-wheel drive V8? Obviously, Australia's full of rear-wheel drive V8s as far as racing goes, but is this the great platform for you to continue through with your career?
100%. It's the cheapest way to race a V8. And it's cost-effective, rounds are cheap, and it's just a whole barrel of fun.
And so with you yourself, obviously your team, and you're looking after the car yourselves, what are some of the things you found about the TA2 car that's different to the Toyota? Obviously, the car is a control formula effectively, but a platform that you can adjust and change.
Yeah, there's so much more you can change on these things. Yeah, the Toyotas are very, very limited in what you can change. But yeah, there's so much more to learn, so much more to develop on these things, and there's a lot of ways to make speed, so they're really fun and challenging to learn.
So it's your first time at QR with this car?
No, we raced last year here. It was our first round ever in this car. But yeah, first full-time round this year.
Brilliant, no worries. All right, well, good luck for the rest of the weekend. Thanks for chatting to us.
Perfect.
Back to you guys.
Yeah, he's been super impressive this weekend, marred by clutch issues when it came to qualifying. Didn't even turn a lap there. Didn't get a chance to test out green tyres. You know, for those at home, that's brand new tyres. They get 4 brand new ones coming into the round, and they can only use them. And the first chance they got was qualifying, and he didn't get out there. So to make the positions up that he has, started off rear of field, one race yesterday, and a very limited race today, where out of the 12 laps we probably only saw half a dozen race laps, not even that. So to make another 4 positions, incredible from Hayden Jackson.
He's been quietly impressive since stepping up to the TA2 Muscle Car Series. He was always one of the big improvers in the Toyota 86 series. He went from starting out in the category and being outside the top 20 to running consistently inside the top 10. And he's adapted to the TA2 race car really, really well. So good to hear from Hayden Jackson as we turn our attention back to this Porsche Cup race. More compulsory pit stops have taken place. Our race leader, Tom McLennan, still yet to pit at this stage, but the point that I was going to make is that the Le Mans 24-hour Porsche will have a presence over there with their hypercar program. And Matt Campbell, an example of a driver who has come through the Porsche pyramid. Started out in the Porsche Michelin Sprint Challenge, progressed to Carrera Cup, won the Porsche International Scholarship Shootout, raced in Porsche Super Cup, and is now part of the hypercar program that is being run by Porsche internationally. And the other example of a driver from here in Queensland who is going really well at the moment, Harry Jones. He was the Carrera Cup champion last year and currently racing in the Porsche Super Cup. He had his first race at Monaco last weekend. He came 9th outright and he was the 3rd best of the rookie drivers. So well done to Harry Jones as Tom McLennan now comes in to take his compulsory pit stop, and Steve has another update for us.
Thanks, Lockie. I have a pretty special observer here wandering around pit lane. Is Tony Quinn, owner of Queensland Raceway and the man that's developed this place into the fantastic facility it is. Tony, thanks for developing Queensland Raceway first and foremost, and thanks for if you like, looking after the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series here on the 2 Days of Thunder. You're out here having a look, and obviously the Porsches are out, the GT4, your car's out there. So how's it going?
I think Ryder, my grandson, he's racing it. The plan was for me to race with him, but I've had a stint in hospital again just last week, so I'm not going to go out and race this week. So he's doing it himself. So he's young enough, though.
Any further developments, if we talk about QR, any further developments coming for the next 12 months? And obviously, every time we come here, something's new, something's great, something's brighter and better. So what's happening for the future? Well, yes, there's things happening. And it's sad to say, but there'll be new toilets again. There's a few things happening. And we're moving more into, we're chasing the technology thing as well. Everything from registration to timing to maybe early warning systems and stuff like that, because I feel that the sport, and we're doing it in New Zealand as well, I feel that the sport are just dragging their heels a wee bit in that area. So I want to just advance that kind of thing and focus more on the business of the track, because the facility's fine now. I mean, we'll have to keep fine-tuning it. But more about the business and the experience that our customers get is important, So. And obviously the area that you're in, Queensland, is beautiful. And it's interesting you talk about the technology. I think the world is moving at fast pace. And your 3 tracks in New Zealand are obviously working with that as well. And here, being out here in Queensland, obviously the same. Yeah, the early warning system is something that the sport is trying to research or develop. Where do you see that coming? That's obviously something that's going to correlate with racing and your drive day market. Yes, definitely. And, and look, we've all been talking about it for 10, 15 years. And, my life's going to run out. And I'd like to see something done sooner than later. And it might not be... The system that we look at might not be the system that we all adopt, but I think it's important that we move along, because to get young kids into motorsport, it needs to be more technology. Waving flags, young kids don't want to be waving flags anymore, so we've got to introduce them to better technology and get them interested in that side of it. Obviously, the alley track system is used here on track, and the lights work here. They work at various other tracks around the country. It seems to be the way that the sport is going, where race control is very, very active in monitoring the track at all times. Obviously, here you can see the whole track, but certainly technology is going to help us right across the board with lights and the reaction time for the ability with technology to allow the drivers to know what's going on. Yeah, and we're working with alley tracks on that point, because they're halfway there already, and if they can combine their system in with some, you need to keep it simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. You just need 2 lights that are easily identifiable, and for everybody from the club racer to the pro racer, it's because I've lived through the flag era, and to be honest, when you look back, it was a bit of a schmozzle, really. And then somebody invented fluorescent shirts, work shirts. So in the crowd there would be somebody with a bright pink shirt and a yellow shirt, and you'd think, is that a flag or whatever? And they moved the flags further away. Whereas now with the lighting system that's on it, for a driver, it's just brilliant. It's next level. So we need to just keep on moving along. And it took the FIA and everybody a long time to adopt that. And in New Zealand, still to this day, they're still slowly adopting things. So we're pushing along. I think the beauty of it is we push cars and push development as quick as we can. We make the tyres better, we make the car better, but we've got to make the tracks better and safer for that to compensate. 100%, mate. And the cars are getting faster, the tyres are getting faster, everything's getting a wee bit faster. So you have to be sharper. And, we're all getting older. So all the volunteers that used to come and volunteer and help out, we're all getting slower. So we need to get the technology in front. It's what we need to do. No worries. Thanks, Tony, and thanks again for welcoming us to Queensland Raceway. Thanks, guys.
Great to have Tony here for the 2 days of thunder and welcoming the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. A bit of a character, isn't he?
Oh, he's one of the great characters of the Australian motorsport scene. Obviously a super successful businessman. Not only does he own Queensland Raceway, but he owns the Highlands and Hampton Downs facilities over in New Zealand. He's also a shareholder in the 888 Supercars team here in Australia, but he doesn't mind getting his hands dirty. I bumped into him in the office this morning and he was busy emptying a vacuum cleaner bag. So still very, very hands-on, and I think that's the way that he's approached his business activities, and one of the reasons that he's been so successful.
Well, just under 4 minutes remaining in this Porsche Club, this Queensland Challenge, as they're out on track, and we can see on our timing boards at the moment, it's Ryder Quinn out there in the #1 position, and that will be after the pit stops.
So he had a faster compulsory pit stop compared to Tom McLennan. So yes, Ryder Quinn has emerged from the pit stop cycle in the race lead by 15.5 seconds. So Ryder Quinn well out in front in that Queensland Raceway Porsche Cayman GT4 car. That's the car that Tony Quinn purchased quite recently. We've seen that he's been running it in the GT4 Australia Series, which is running alongside the Australian Production Car Series. The difference this weekend is the car will be on slick tyres, whereas in the GT4 National Series they run on a treaded R-Spec tyre.
Yeah, so we'll be a little bit quicker getting around here at Queensland Raceway. Look, Ryder Quinn would know exactly where pit entry is, where he's got to get down to that 40 kilometres, and exactly where pit exit is. There will be no stopping 3 or 4 metres beforehand or after. He'll be right on that line, and he's done plenty of laps this weekend. We saw a couple of 1-hour endurance races last night from the Queensland Production Cars, which he took part in as well. So not only has he done plenty of laps here at Queensland Raceway, he's done plenty this weekend.
Indeed he has. Another example of a driver who's getting seat time in all different race cars. We saw that he competed very successfully in National Formula Ford competition last year. This season he stepped up to Porsche Carrera Cup driving with the McEllister racing team, which has a great pedigree for guiding young drivers, the likes of Harry Jones and Matt Campbell and Jackson Evans, up through the ranks of the Porsche Junior program. So Ryder Quinn is going to be in a great environment to progress his motorsport career. He's brought up to the back of Wayne Hennig in that 992 GT3 Cup car.
Just a couple of minutes left in this race. He's right under the back wing as they head down the back straight, high speed through turn number 2. Big run on down. They're trying to get a bit of slipstream here and pull out. Get the legs to do it. It's under brakes, so this is where that car really excels, doesn't it? Look at it, how much later he can brake, and the youth and enthusiasm, I think. You've got a bit less fear when you come into that corner under brakes.
You do, and the other advantage is that the GT4 car does have ABS, whereas the GT3 Cup car does not have ABS brakes. So Ryder Quinn can throw it up the inside, carry the brake pedal all the way through to the apex. And another quick update from Steve in the pits.
Thanks, Lockie. I've just spoken to Tony and Tony Quinn, the owner of Queensland Raceway, and now I'm talking to General Manager Josh McFarlane. Josh, how's the weekend going for you, and how's it looking at, I suppose the event's been very popular, but it's been a great innovation to put Hi-Tec Oil Super Series joining 2 Days of Thunder, and it's working really well, and you obviously got a great day ahead.
Yeah, so it's fantastic. It's great to have Hi-Tec and obviously AASA. You guys being a part of 2 Days of Thunder, bringing the TV to the local area is fantastic. Having the hype around the event, bringing TA2. We just love having national events of motorsport. So yesterday was fantastic. The racing was great. The night race was perfect. A lot of close action between Ryder Quinn and Linton. So that was a fantastic race. Today should be a great day. We've got our corporate centre full. We've got hire carts running. It's going to be a great day for sure.
No worries. I've got the race about to finish, so we'll wrap it up, but we'll come back and talk to Josh during the day. Thank you again.
Okay, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve, and great to have Josh here in a great facility. Like they say, it's all about the entertainment for the spectator that comes in, not just the racer. So here we go, the final few seconds before we get this to become the final lap of the race, and I don't think he's going to make it around here. I think we are going to come under checkered flag very, very shortly as we head down to turn number 6, the final turn in this national layout. And it's Ryder Quinn who's leading us here in the Queensland Raceway GT4 Porsche Cayenne. The checkered flag comes out as we go 0 seconds, nothing left in this 35-minute race, and the checkered flag is out. Ryder Quinn will confirm that win in this Queensland Porsche Club.
Indeed, and that's a great moment for the Quinn family. His grandfather Tony watching on from down there in the pit lane, and great preparation for Ryder ahead of the Carrera Cup round in a couple of weeks. We'll see Ryder back out on the circuit a bit later on today for the Queensland Production Car race. We saw that he was sharing the local legends Mustang for the 2 1-hour endurance races last night with another young gun, Matthew McCutcheon, the New Zealander who's been racing in the Super 3 Series this year. But Tom McLennan comes home in second position in the Porsche GT3 Cup car. And it's going to be Kevin Venelago who will pick up his best race result of the weekend, coming home in position 3. He will be stoked with that, Kevin. A very passionate motorsport enthusiast, very passionate about all things Porsche, and very passionate about the Porsche Club Queensland. Confirmation of your race results. Ryder Quinn, your winner, ahead of Tom McLennan, Kevin Venelago. Shane Freaks in fourth position, back to David Lees. Shane Wilson, unfortunately, spinning off at turn number 1. Sven Corman's getting caught up in that accident at the first corner of Wayne Hennig, the other driver involved in that contretemps on the opening lap.
Yeah, we'll check out some of the highlights there of the Queensland Porsche Club Series as they got around Queensland Raceway. Very spread out. Unfortunately, that first incident we saw Hennig and Wilson, Corman's all caught up in that. We'll have a look at it right here. No surprise in the start there as we saw McLennan get away over Quinn into turn number 1, but it's here where Hennig just on the outside, and unfortunately Wilson on the inside. A little bit of contact possibly made there. The cars spear off. 2 cars go through for the third car. Sven Corman's unfortunately has to try and avoid contact, ends up in the dirt, spins around. That caused us to have a little bit of recovery where we went under safety car. And on the restart there, once again, McLennan and Quinn get away. And they fought this out for a couple of laps, actually, where Quinn just wouldn't stop having a go. And for McLennan, the tyre temperature seemed to come up on that car, and he started to drive away and open up a small gap on Quinn.
The battle resumes between Wayne Hennig and Shane Wilson, but Wayne Hennig making sure that Shane Wilson had plenty of space on this occasion. 2 Porsche Cup cars of different eras. And then it was Ryder Quinn picking his way through a bit of the lap's traffic, sending it down the inside of Wayne Hennig into turn number 3 on what turned out to be the penultimate lap of the race. And in the end, Ryder Quinn in the GT4 car came home to take out the race victory in the Porsche Queensland Cup Mini Enduro here at the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series round.
And next up, you can see them forming up in pit lane now. We've got the Queensland Touring Car Championships for race number 3 about to hit our track, and they're going to be going out there and doing 10 laps here today. And it's great to see so many of these style of cars, I suppose, as they go out. It's not just about having the big V8. We've got plenty of other forms of cars as part of this one as well. As they get out on track, though, we're quickly going to catch up with Stephen White down in pit lane.
Thanks, guys. I've got Tom McLennan with me, who was actually leading that race, and unfortunately lost the lead during the pit stop, but great result anyway.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we thought it was a 90-second stop-go pit time, but obviously something was different, or we got told otherwise. So, but yeah, besides that, I've had fun all weekend, and it's just good to be out here at QR, 2 days of thunder. I can't thank everyone enough for putting on the whole weekend, and I'm sure everyone's had fun, and just to thank the officials and everyone for putting it on.
Good on you, Tom. We've got Kevin Venelago, who actually is motorsport director, manager of Porsche here in Queensland, and I just grabbed him. He's just popped down here for 3rd place finish. Sorry, Kevin, we're catching you on the hop there. Yeah. How was that 3rd place?
Oh, fantastic. Look, congratulations to both Ryder Quinn and Tom McLennan. They're the rising stars of our sport. Thank you very much to Hi-Tec Oils. This event isn't possible without, and of course, the crew from 2 Days of Thunder. Thank you very much. I'm delighted with 3rd place. It's fantastic.
Good on you, Kevin. Thank you. No worries. We'll go down to Ryder Quinn, who's had a fantastic result in this race. We were just talking to Grandad Tony a few minutes ago. Well done, Ryder. Fantastic effort, and nice victory to have at QR.
Yeah, it's good, especially in this QR car. And the GT4 came in. It's a great car, brilliant. Around here, Queensland Raceway, what a track. It's cool. And then, yeah, it's just laps for Darwin, really, in 2 weeks' time. Had the heater on, 30 degrees, pumping, just trying to get ready for prep for Darwin. So, yeah, it's good. And, you know, that saying, you're only as good as your last race, so it's good.
Well done. You obviously drove the Mustang last night. Bit of a difference with the Mustang and the Porsche, bit of a changeover across the weekend.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. It was good. I mean, both cars are cool, both cool in their own right, but I definitely prefer this.
No worries. Good on your rider. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Even with a heater on, he prefers it.
That's amazing, isn't it? So he actually prefers the GT4 car compared to his Carrera Cup car. I think the Carrera Cup car is probably a little bit faster, though. As we turn our attention to the start of the Queensland Touring Car Championship, race number 4 for the QTCC cars. On the front row of the grid, it's our points leader, Peter Bray, and the driver who's been thrown down the challenge to him all weekend, Robert Bellinger in the BMW. They'll go side by side into turn 1, and it's Bray, the acceleration of the V8 Commodore, allowing him to take the lead a bit further back. That's Les Hannafin in the Valvoline VK Commodore, being overtaken around the outside by Murray Kent in the BMW E30. So not a great start for Les Hannafin. He's been up inside the top 5 all weekend, but that Commodore has drifted back off the start. He's going to have to work hard to try and recover some of those lost positions. And it's on here at turn number 3. Bellinger was on the outside. Bray was able to switch back to the inside, but this is going to be one of those classic Queensland Touring Car Championship battles between cars that have got strengths and weaknesses in different parts of the circuit. The Commodore was faster in a straight line, the BMW better under brakes and through the corners.
It's been a great contest between these two at the front. Bray and Bellinger have been going at it all weekend in the previous 2 races, and we'll have to wait and see how this one plays out. They are going to streak away and have their own little battle out in front. In second place, they Malpass and Marks. Looks like they're a little bit further back.
Nathan Marks, in fact, up to 3rd position in that Jägermeister livery BMW E36.
Yeah, he didn't have a happy day yesterday either. We saw him a little bit further back down in the ranks in the Jägermeister car, and he'll be working his way back through the field now. And now as we go 3 wide, you can see the big Group C. Commodore there under brakes. He's not going to get the V, I don't think, as he goes around the outside. And it looks like Darren Dakin in the 99 VE Commodore will hold on to that position, possibly. We'll wait and see as they come around the Beagle turn number 2. Definitely got the nose in front.
Going to be an interesting comparison of the straight line speed between these 2 Commodores as they flash down the back straight. Les Hannafin in the slipstream of Darren Dakin. Oh, big lock-up, and in fact a complete spin for Ben Malpass at turn number 3. He locks the rear brakes on the way into the corner, and he rotates out onto the painted concrete extension on the outside, and he's going to drop right to the back of the pack.
Well, good news is he's not out in the kitty litter. We don't need to get the Kobelco front-end loader in there. We don't need to dig him out. So that's great news. He will rejoin the race, unfortunately for him, but we'll put him at the back of the pack. But we'll continue our race lead here as they are fighting it out. We go back through the pack. It's going to be Bonacorso and Kent having a nice little battle back there for 7th position. Great shots here overhead, as we can see the paperclip style track as it's like to be described here at Queensland Raceway. And you see a replay of Malpass before, just on his own accord, no one around, locks the back brakes up, and we've seen quite a few issues there on turn number 3, which we spoke about earlier in the weekend, but everyone seems to be getting around it. Maybe they're just getting a little bit more eager today, or maybe it's the fact that we do have this cloud cover. Tyre temperatures might not be as warm.
And it is a hard braking zone down there, and I think for Ben Malpass, it was just a case of him coming in a bit too hot. Here's a battle between Paul Bonacorso, who's flying the flag for the Blue Oval in the Queensland Touring Car Championship this weekend, and Nick Linton in the VT Commodore involved in that contest as well. A bit further up the road, Darren Dakin still under pressure from Les Hannafin. It's an interesting colour scheme on Darren Dakin's VE Commodore, isn't it? Normally you don't see metallic green paint schemes and Holden Racing Team tribute liveries going together.
No, you definitely don't. And normally you don't like to wrap them like that. The expense of them on a race car, you know, when you get a bit of rubbing out there and you got to keep working on it, but it looks absolutely fantastic. That really electric green on the side with the Holden Racing livery. He's out there, he needs to watch out. Hannafin, he's just waiting for a moment, trying to set himself up to have another go and see if he can get this overtake manoeuvre done. Our race leaders at the moment, though, Bray and Bellinger. And it looks like Bray's got the horsepower advantage going down the big front straight here at Queensland Raceway. A lot of speed through turn 1. The car jumps around. You see a few bumps there. Bellinger's very smooth in the BMW. And now Hannafin alongside Dakin. Can he get him into turn number 1? Hannafin puts the big Group C Commodore on the inside.
And they'll still be side by side on the run into turn number 2, but it will be Les Hannafin on the inside who picks up that position. And one of the things that we've seen throughout the weekend in the Queensland Touring Car Championship is they're cars that have different strengths and weaknesses in different parts of the track, but there are also cars that will have different strengths and weaknesses during different stages of the race. So the bigger, heavier Commodores tend to use up their tyres and brakes quite aggressively, the smaller, lighter and more nimble BMWs are a bit more efficient with their usage of tyres and brakes. And in the previous race, we saw that Peter Gray bolted in the first half of the race, but then Robert Bellinger was able to reel him back in the closing stages. So Robert Bellinger's mission here is just to try and stay as close to Peter Gray as he possibly can so that he can have a crack at the win towards the end.
Yeah, we saw yesterday they had the different layout. Oh, Malpass still loose. Looks like he's made up a couple of positions there, but the car moving all over the place. Maybe he's missed tyre pressures there. Something has gone wrong with the car. It could be a flat spot on there even after that big brake lock-up going into turn number 3, but we'll have to wait and see how this battle unfolds. Oh, James doesn't want to get into any stoush at the moment. They're not really on the same pace. Malpass should be a lot further up. And I worry about Bonacorso there. That car has a little bit of smoke coming out the back of it now.
We saw that in the previous race as well, so it must just be one of the operational characteristics of that car, because it doesn't seem to be affecting its paces. Walking up the inside, Warren Wadley in the number 51 VY Commodore. That car running a tribute livery to the car that Greg Murphy raced in the 2003 V8 Supercar Championship, the car that set the famous lap of the gods in the top 10 shootout at year's Bathurst 1000.
We'll be looking for a lap of the gods here, because he's not going to make it easy for him, Bonacorso. He's definitely going to try and beat him into that corner. He'll turn in and he'll hold on to that position at the moment. Wadley's going to work out. So much smoke though coming out. I thought maybe it was just a heavy breathing engine, possibly. It could be a little bit of tyre rubbing maybe. It seems to only be coming out of the corners and under heavy braking.
Seems to be particularly noticeable through the low-speed corners, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's not down the main straight. We don't see it happening all the time where you're still under full acceleration. You possibly could be an engine breathing or something like that. Sometimes we see with the cars under deceleration, you know, the vacuum in the car might start to go out to the breather tanks. It looks like Halliford now has opened up a nice little gap on Dakin. He's managed to get that move done and starting to stretch the legs and pull away. Bellinger, though, the fastest lap of the race at the moment, a 1:18.10, as Malpass is back on the right-hand accelerator. Look at him go all the way to the firewall. He's gotten side by side with Gary Anger.
And should get the job done for turn number 2. Hangs Gary Anger out towards the outside of the circuit. Gary Anger was a retirement from one of the races yesterday with a drive shaft problem, but they managed to get it fixed overnight, so good to see Anger's VX Commodore back out there, and he's coming back down the inside of Malpass into turn 3. Super confident under brakes. Malpass looking for the switchback manoeuvre on the exit of the corner, and those two cars will continue their duel on the run-up towards turn number 4. Here is the battle for the lead. So, like I said, Bellinger's starting to come back at Peter Bray in the second half of this race, and it's only half a second separating our two race leaders.
And you mentioned it before, the bigger cars, they start to wear down the brakes, they start to get a bit more tyre temperature in than what we see the lighter, more nimble cars. So the E46 BMW of Bellinger now starting to increase the pace, cut down that lead. It is down to half a second, and he is trying to improve on that. You'll see the difference in the braking as they come down to turn number 3. Bray will have to get on the brakes a lot earlier, and Bellinger will have a dive down the inside. I don't think he's going to get close enough on this one, but he'll get a wheel up on the curb. Bray makes a lot of room for him, which is going to give Bellinger an advantage as they head down to turn number 4.
How's the braking performance of that BMW? He came from a long, long way back there, heading into turn 3 and round the outside into turn 4. Super deep under brakes goes Rob Bellinger, and now he's going to try and go all the way around the outside of Peter Bray into turn number 5, and he's going to pull the move off as well. What a move from Robert Bellinger to take the lead of this Queensland Touring Car Championship race.
Maximum use of the ripple strips there for Bellinger as he goes right out wide and holds it on though, way down the main straight there, because Bray definitely has a lot of horsepower in this Commodore, and can he try and reel him in and fight into turn number 1? I don't think he's going to get the drive out there to do it as Bellinger keeps that distance apart, and now he's got a half a second lead over Bray.
And Bellinger needs to maximise the mid-corner speed of his BMW E46 through turns 1 and 2 to make sure he's got enough of a lead over Bray heading onto the back straight. Stephen White, down to you.
Thanks, Lockie. I have with me another integral part of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series, Jeff Grech, well known to people out there for his exploits with HRT and HSV. Jeff, how's the weekend going for you? And obviously you've got a few things on today, but this certainly TA2 and all of the other categories here at Queensland Raceway and the venue, something to behold.
Oh, mate, the venue's the best I've ever seen it. I mean, awesome job. The TA2, there've been some great racing, like a few crashes, but some real tussle. And the production car last night, I mean, there was some ripper racing as well. So great event, great weekend, and it's good to be part of the series.
And obviously with your, I suppose, your knowledge this weekend, you're dealing with some HSV owners that are pretty lucky to have a bit of a chat with you and a Q&A up in corporate, and they've got a display on Turn 1, on the outside of Turn 1. That's pretty cool.
Oh, mate, it's a lot of history, a lot of my history. I talked to a few of them yesterday in their little briefing. Really passionate about HSV, and it was my life, HSV and HRT. So it's great to see the cars. They're great people, and yeah, I'm looking forward to lunchtime.
No worries, good on you. I just saw Jeff wandering along there, so I thought I'd grab you for a quick chat. Thanks again, Jeff. Thanks for being part of the team. Thanks, guys.
Oh, Jeff, he always looks forward to lunchtime.
I think we all do, don't we?
But when you're up in the corporate area.
But Jeff Grech, great to have him as part of the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series, all of his knowledge and experience in motorsport over many, many years, and a lot of the HSV Owners Club members who are here this weekend, they will absolutely love the opportunity to catch up with and have a chat to Jeff Grech. As further back, this is Nick Linton and the recovering Ben Malpass, who we saw spinning off the road at turn number 3 earlier on, engaged in a battle for positions 6 and 7. A bit further back, this is Wes Hannafin closing in onto the back of Nathan Marks. So this is the contest for position 3 in the motor race.
Yeah, look at the VK. It's so wide compared to Marks in the Jägermeister BMW. It's just a big difference. And oh no, he goes wide too, and he's off onto the dirt. Oh, there you go. Marks will now give up that position number 3, and Hannafin could find himself on a podium finish here.
That's a shame for Nathan Marks because he was having his best run of the weekend in that BMW E36, which runs the Jägermeister livery. It's a throwback to the BMWs that ran in the late 1980s in the World Touring Car Championship and at the Spa 24 Hour, among other events. We are on the final lap of the race, and it's Robert Bellinger who leads by just over a second ahead of Peter Bray. And if positions stay as they are at the moment, not only will Robert Bellinger win this race, he will also win the round overall, courtesy of the results that he's had in the other races this weekend. Peter Bray on target to pick up second overall for the weekend. The final podium position, even despite the fact that he's had a couple of spins and incidents in this race, looks set to go the way of Ben Malpass.
He's working hard to try and get back through the pack, and see, as they came around last time, he got that position back over Linton, so that'll be a nice little battle to see who ends up in 6th. In the meantime, we'll go back to your race leaders. We go around the final corner here at Queensland Raceway, and heading down the straight, he's going to get himself another race win. Robert Bellinger will cross the line in the BMW and take out race number 4 of the Queensland Touring Car Championship here at the 2 Days of Thunder as part of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. In second position will be Peter Bray in the VT Commodore, and then we're going to go back. We're waiting for Hannafin. It's quite a big gap back there, 23 seconds, but Hannafin's coming around in the Group C VK Commodore. The big Valvoline stickers on the headlights as he goes through. He's going to get 3rd position and finishes off the Jägermeister BMW of Marks. Almost made it into 3rd, but went off at turn number 4 a couple of laps ago and let Hannafin through, and the battle's still going on in the background. Look at Malpass. He's got back over Linton. Can he hold on to it through the final corner? Linton looking to come down the inside. Can he make it happen? No, Malpass. What a great recovery after that early spin on turn 3.
Linton lost traction there coming out of turn number 6, so he was trying to set up to out-drag Ben Malpass on the run to the finish line, but because he had those traction issues, he wasn't able to do that, so he finishes up in 7th position behind Malpass. Hudson James will bring the EFS 4x4 accessories VZ Commodore home next, and then we'll go back to Warren Wadley in that beautifully liveried Kmart Commodore, and Paul Bonacorso in the X8 Falcon rounds out your top 10 finishes, and that is the Queensland Touring Car Championship races complete for the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series here at Queensland Raceway.
It was great to have them here this weekend. They did quite a number of laps and a good field of cars taking part in that one. A very popular category here in Queensland to be part of it, and looking forward to seeing them up at Morgan Park as well in 5 weeks' time. Of course, the 8th and 9th of July is our next round of the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series from Morgan Park, just outside of Warwick. So we're going to go a little bit further inland for that one, where it's going to be a lot cooler, I'd say, in July. But let's have a look at the Hi-Tec Oils highlights, though, of race 4 of the Queensland Touring Car Championships, and it was Bray and Bellinger again fighting it out off the front row of the grid, and Bray had pole position, made it into turn number 1, got the horsepower down, and Bellinger just had to slot in behind.
Battles happening right throughout the pack. We saw that Ben Malpass was right in the thick of the action. He got involved in a squabble with Darren Dakin, but then down at turn number 3, it all came unstuck and he went rotating backwards off the circuit.
Bit of a further back again, he was sideways Malpass as he was battling it out there with Bonacorso and our EFS Commodore there of James. And then these two at the front of the pack though, Bellinger and Bray, and he just waited for his moment. It was on lap 7 where we saw Bellinger take advantage of that better braking BMW and get the lead back, and more cars coming off there as well, and was again marked late in the race. The Jägermeister BMW slid off turn number 4 and managed to let Hamilton get into that 3rd position.
In the end, though, it was Robert Bellinger who picked up the race win and also secured the overall round victory for the 3rd round of the Queensland Touring Car Championship.
As we can see, the big Commodore coming in to take that 3rd position as we put the number out the front. How great is it to see them come back out here in pit lane at Queensland Raceway. Some race winners here for our Queensland Touring Car Championships down there in pit lane, and we will catch up with them very, very shortly. You've got to admit the facilities here, Lachlan, have improved so much over the last couple of years, and it's great to see them, all those signs come up. And Stephen White's going to get down here with our winners now.
I'm just with Les Hannafin for 3rd place in this great-looking Group C Commodore. Have a look at it, fantastic. And we'll have a chat to Les if he wants in the car. How'd you go with that one, Les?
Fucking radio out. I'll come out, mate.
Come out, he's coming out, he's going to pop out. Have a look at the workmanship in there. What a great-looking car. Fantastic work. I'll just, we'll grab you 3rd place for that one, Les. How was that?
Oh, that was fantastic, mate. I really enjoyed it. The car's really strong. I'll see if I can get this stupid thing off, eh?
You're right. You're right.
Sorry, mate.
You're right. Yeah, so obviously we've got our 1st place car pulling up here now. What a beautiful looking BMW. And we've had the VX Commodore come 2nd. We'll get Les is going to jump his, grab his helmet off there, but obviously an interesting battle with all the other vehicles. And you two guys ran the earlier cars back down, and obviously it was a big battle for you and a great looking car.
Yeah, the car's been fantastic all.
I'll get that for you. There we go.
Yeah, mate, the car's been fantastic all season, and I'm just coming to grips with a few changes that we've done. And I got age against me, but I'm really enjoying my racing.
Good on you. Good on you, Les. We'll wander over to 2nd place. Well done. Sorry about that. Sorry about the delay there. Well done. 2nd place. Fantastic.
You know, it's a great day out here, and it's been a great track all weekend. So, yeah, no, thanks to Hanno's Car Care and 360 Landscapes, it's been a great weekend. So, yeah, excellent.
Well done. We'll see you in the next race. Well done. And 1st place, Rob Bellinger in the BMW. Hi, Rob. Sorry about that. We finally got you down here. How was 1st place?
Good. Awesome. Hard work against big horsepower Commodores. Just got to hang in there. Yeah.
Good on you. And out of breath, Rob Bellinger there. So, Rob, obviously for the next race, you're looking good?
Yeah, I think it's at Warwick. So, yeah, see how we go. Let's try to be up the pointy end. Yeah.
Good on you. No worries. Thanks for that, guys. So I noticed the Hyundai's going out, so a bit of an action-packed race coming next.
Action-packed is a nice way to describe it when we stick 40 cars nearly on the track all at once and they've got to battle it out. Now, let's talk about this. It is the inaugural Australian Excel Cup that is taking part of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series, and it all happens right here at Queensland Raceway this weekend. EFS 4x4 getting on board for this championship, so fantastic support from them, of course, a local Queensland business, all your 4x4 accessories, so go and check them out. We do have a race this morning. We'll have a race in our live coverage on TV this afternoon as well of the Australian Hyundai Excel Cup. But it's round number 1 for them, and a dominant person who's been the number 1 qualifier, won both races so far, Cam Wilson, and not the youngest competitor in the field either.
No, he's one of the elder statesmen, in fact, of Excel racing, but super experienced and knows how to pedal a Hyundai Excel race car around Queensland Raceway. He's been showing the young guns how it's done. He'll start on pole position. Jay Rowbotham, rising star of Australian motorsport, out of grid position 2. And Alice Buckley, one of our rising female racing stars, out of position 3. She's been super quick this weekend. It's a massive field of cars. You've got some fast cars starting from a bit further back in the pack. Watch out for Cameron Bartholomew out of 12th. He charged through the field in race number 2 yesterday. Josh Richards suffering from an exhaust problem in race number 2. He'll be coming from a bit further back in position number 15. Watch out for him as well. But action aplenty in both of the races that we had yesterday. This category, it teaches you so much. It teaches you about maximising the performance of what are fairly modest horsepower producing cars, but it also teaches you about racecraft, racing in close door-to-door combat with other competitors in a category where the machinery is very evenly matched. That's why this category has very rapidly forged a reputation as being such a valuable breeding ground for a lot of young motorsport stars.
Yeah, we caught up with Cam Wilson yesterday and he spoke a lot about the drafting in these cars as well. So you've got to get your racecraft involved. You know, between the top cars and the bottom cars, there's probably only about 3 or 4 horsepower, which is about 3 or 4%. So not much in it. They need to do everything they can. Getting ready for the race starts. We see cars moving in the background.
There's one car a bit further back that jumps the start there by about 3 seconds, so that's obviously something that is going to attract attention from race control, but it's Jay Rowbotham who's got the jump on Cam Wilson. So for the first time this weekend, Cameron Wilson not in the lead of the motor race. It's Rowbotham who takes the top spot as they head through turns 1 and 2.
Just checking out Cameron Bartholomew. He got disqualified in race number 1, put him in the back of the pack for race 2, worked his way to 12th, and he's going to have to try and push hard to get through this pack early on. Don't want to get any damage sustained there. Tyler Collins already into 3rd place, and they're wheel to wheel. Is that Casher in the background alongside what I think is Jack Wood?
And Alice Buckley as well in one of the other 680 Racing XLs involved in that, as well as Cameron Wilson goes for the lead move but hasn't been able to get the car stopped at turn number 3, so Rowbotham back down the inside. Here comes Tyler Collins ranging up on the outside, and yes, Ryan Casher involved in a battle with 2 of the 680 Racing XLs of Jack Wood and Alice Buckley, who was very fast yesterday, set the fastest lap in both of yesterday's races. Cameron Wilson looking for the outside move on Jay Rowbotham through turns 4 and 5. They'll go side by side through turn number 5. Wilson using all of the exit curb, one of the cars in the background running off the road altogether, but Cameron Wilson's going to be well placed to recapture the lead at turn 6.
Definitely is, and as he gets sideways there under brakes, you can see all the back end of the car unloaded, no weight on those tyres there, 3 wide down the main straight. We're only on lap 1, Lachlan. Look at the excitement as they go. Rowbotham on the outside, might just have the nose on Wilson, and Tyler trying to stay in this fight. It looks like Wilson going to get the run into turn number 1.
And it looks like Tyler Collins was going to be well placed on the inside there, but didn't quite have the momentum coming down the main straight. But he will be on the inside of Jalen Rowbotham as they head through the first corner. What he needs to do here is tuck into the slipstream. And what this squabble between these top 3 has allowed is the next trio of cars, Alice Buckley, Ryan Casher and Jack Wood to close in, as we've got one car spearing through the infield at a rapid rate of knots. That was Shane Marnie going off to driver's right there on the back straight.
Wow, so much to unfold in this, and hopefully that is okay and that car will rejoin the race, because we have got some exciting racing here in the XLs. They've got 10 laps out there for this race number 3 of the Australian XL Series, and wow, what a race it is. Rowbotham is is trying to get the lead back there, but Wilson leading us at the moment. Robotham in second. That's Tyler Collins in third. Alice Buckley's dropped back one position, but she's got the elbows out because she needs to watch out for Ryan Casher, who's trying to push forward in that pink XL.
And we've got the safety car on the circuit, so a couple of cars have stopped at various positions on the racetrack, and they are going to require some assistance from our recovery crews here at Queensland Raceway to get mobile again, so that will just settle down the field somewhat. But Cameron Wilson, it looks there like he was going to start doing what he did in both yesterday's races, drive away from the field while everybody else was squabbling for position behind him. Robotham, your leader. Cam Wilson, your leader. Robotham second. No, third, in fact, behind Tyler Collins. It's chopping and changing so quickly here. Alice Buckley in position number 4. She's the best of the 680 racing entries. Ryan Casher 5th. Jack Wood 6th. Cameron Bartholomew has come from 12th up to 7th. And then it's Hugo Simpson, the Victorian, in 8th position. Ahead of Jared Hughes, who's had a very good opening lap and moved up to 9th position. Rounding out the top 10, George Wood in the 3rd of the 680 racing entries.
Well, what an exciting opening couple of laps here's for our Hyundai Excels. I hope you're enjoying all the coverage. Wow, that is a big impact. A lot of tyres have moved there. That's come off the track at extreme pace for an Excel.
And in a weird spot as well. So that was the car of Shane Marnie that we saw disappearing to the right-hand side of the circuit on the back straight. You don't normally see cars going off in that position, and it's clattered into the tyre wall. And potentially that's going to be quite an extensive exercise to get that car retrieved and fix the tyres. Let's have a look at, watch to the back of the shot here. And I reckon what he's done there is he's dropped the left-hand wheels off the edge of the road on the exit of turn 2, overcorrected, and ended up in the infield.
Well, we didn't see any other cars moving around like there was contact made or anything like that. It might have just happened on his own accord there. I think you're right. Just got off the outside there, steered the car inside. Once it's gone across the bitumen, you're on that grass. Very hard to control the car. High-speed corner too as well. Just come around one, a bit of braking coming into one just to slow the car down a fraction and turn it in, and then it's really on the edge of grip as you go around turn number 2. You're really trying to maximise the acceleration to go down that back straight, and yeah, not the right point to go, to lose a bit of traction there and spear off across the bitumen.
No, and in these XLs with their modest horsepower, you really do have to use all of the road as well to maximise the exit speed there from turn number 2. So, as you mentioned there, it's the inaugural round, Matty, for the EFS 4x4 Accessories Australian XL Racing Series. And Stephen White has got an update for us from pit lane.
Yeah, thanks, Lockie. I've actually walked into the, I suppose, the area where nobody really wants to go and see the race director. But I've got our race director for the Hi-Tec All Super Series, Andrew Wilton, along with the team. Just thought I'd pop up and show everyone what it's like up here. Andrew, how's the day been going so far?
Yeah, pretty good. Had a few incidents already, so we're just dealing with one at the moment. But overall, the event's been going really well.
And in race control, you've got all the facilities. We were talking to Tony before in pit lane around all of the innovations around, innovations around technology that we're looking for. AliTrack system. So here you have the AliTrack system behind you there that you operate. You look after the flags, etc., with your assistant clerk, of course, Craig.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got the full AliTrack system here. So as an alternative to the flags, we've got the lights. They're all controlled from race control, so we can get those messages out there straight away. We've got a fantastic bank of CCTV cameras behind us as well, so it gives us really good visibility around the facility and able to manage the action pretty well.
So if we can, just quickly, we can show everyone what the AliTrack system is, and you can operate that via that screen, Andrew?
Absolutely, we can. Yeah, absolutely, we can. So we can operate everything from in here, and it goes makes it quite easy.
Behind us here, we've got a bank of TVs which shows us the CCTV cameras around the track, and that obviously assists you with making observation and things like that.
Absolutely. I think we're about to get back to racing, Stephen, so we'll get back to it.
We'll put you back to your job. No worries. Back to you guys.
Get him to work. Andrew Wilton hasn't done enough hours this weekend, I don't think. I think he's had about a 100-hour week.
I don't know what was more amazing about that interview, the fact that Stephen was able to drag Andrew away from what is a very important and busy race direction job during an Excel race, or the fact that Andrew actually let Stephen into the race control building with a camera and microphone.
Great to have Andrew Wilton as part of our national series here at the Hi-Tec All Super Series and being our series race controller as well. So we get that consistency everywhere we go. he's so efficient at what he does, and he likes to make sure that he's got it timed for the rolling starts, how quick they get around, so he can make sure we stay on schedule out there and keep this racing on track. So great to see Andrew Wilson being part of the team and joining us throughout the year as we travel around. It looks like the safety car, or we like to call it yesterday the truck, wasn't it? It's the Ford Ranger, has the lights off and it will be leaving. So the Excels will get back underway with racing. They are now got 7 laps left to complete in this race. Well, that'll go down to 6 as they go around. So 6 laps remaining in this race. Cam Wilson will lead us out, but it's been hotly contested between himself, Tyler Collins and J. Robotham. We'll have to wait and see if that reignites on the start of this race, and we are green and underway with racing. How does this all play out? Alice Buckley in the background in 4th position. She started out at 3rd. Can she put the wind up the boys? Oh no, Kasha down the inside, has a big move. Wood, the teammate behind, and it looks like Buckley will lose a position.
Great race start from Ryan Kasha. Very good race start from Cameron Wilson, our race leader as well. He was able to pull a couple of car lengths before they got to the start-finish line, but this is where the slipstreaming battles begin in earnest. Tyler Collins right in the draft of Cam Wilson as they head down the back straight. Ryan Kasha, who was the dominant winner of all of the Excel races at the Hi-Tec Oils Bathurst 6 Hour on the Easter long weekend, has got himself up to 4th, qualified a bit further back than we expected this weekend, but he's been steadily working his way forward during the races, and he's managed to clear Alice Buckley's move up into position 4.
Well, they're all working very hard now. You can see the slipstream effect coming into play for some of these drivers. We're not seeing too many go too wide anymore, and it looks like Cam Wilson might have opened up a slight gap as we still see that daylight appearing under those rear tyres as he turns in. But a battle now between Tyler Collins and J. Robotham for that 2nd position.
Hugo Simpson getting stuck into it a bit further back with George Wood in the 3rd of the 680 Racing Excels. Hugo Simpson, one of the front runners in the Victorian Excel Racing Series, and you'll see that through turn number 6, the inside rear wheel virtually lifts up off the ground in a lot of these cars. The way that you have to set them up to maximise their lap speed is you want to have them very pointy, so you take a lot of grip out of the rear of the car to get it to turn nice and responsively.
And Alice Buckley, something has happened to her. She has moved all the way back now to 10th position, where she was relegated to 5th before by Kasha. So something happening to her. Unfortunately, the car dropping back through the field and under fire from teammate now. George Wood has put some move on further back in the pack and will try and take that 10th position. So maybe they've missed something with that car. There could be an issue.
I feel a bit sorry for Alice Buckley this weekend because she's had plenty of pace. Fastest lap of the race in both races 1 and 2 yesterday, but she's been out of luck as big dive up the inside for Cameron Bartholomew on Ryan Kasha. That's going to force Kasha wide of the ideal racing line. Jack Wood well positioned to take advantage of that. Here comes Jared Hughes as well. We saw him at the last round of the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series competing in the TA2 Muscle Car Series as they go 3 wide with George Wood, and then further back you've got Alice Buckley involved with Jackson Faulkner and also the recovering Josh Richards. It's hard to know where to look in this Excel field because there are battles right through the pack.
Watch out for Bartholomew. We saw those great drone shots there where the car was moving around. He is really pushing the limits of the brake and the traction of these tyres. And look, as they bank up, it's like a concertina effect. And in the background, we see almost a little bit of contact made there from Hughes. Wow. We've got this battle up the front. We've got a battle there just for 5th position as well, but we'll have to wait and see. Bartholomew in 4th now. Can he hold on? Cash is right behind him, trying to slipstream, and right behind him, Jared Wood.
And it'll be a bit of bump drafting, I think, when they get back to the main straight. Here's Dale Carpenter ahead of his fellow Victorian Hugo Simpson. They negotiate their way through turns 1 and 2. We are on the penultimate lap this time around. And those 2 Victorians just ahead of George Wood, who rounds out the top 10 at this stage. I'm amazed on the previous lap that Cam Bartholomew managed to get his Excel stopped at turn number 3 because he came from a long way back when he made that move down the inside of Ryan Kasha, but somehow he got it pulled up. And Cameron Bartholomew excluded from race number 1 for an incident where he got tangled up with Alice Buckley, but he's done a great job of recovery. Rear of the grid's 12th in race 2 and now up to 4th position in this 3rd race of the weekend.
I'm having a look at Jared Hughes. Oh, brake lock up there now from Wood in the background as Hughes applying the pressure, trying to get that 6th position as they just come onto our screen. He is right on the back. I thought like Cam Wilson in the lead might have just had a little bit of a comfortable moment there, half a second in front, but then Tyler Collins just through different parts of the racetrack manages to make the difference up there. You see the distance between them closed right up, so I don't know whether maybe Tyler Collins can have another crack at Cam Wilson, who's won 2 races so far. Could it be 3 out of 3? Robotham just behind them as well, and plenty of them banking up in the background, and as now they go too wide down the straight, it's all happening further down the pack.
It's like Alice Buckley there pulling out to try and make a move down the inside into turn number 1. Once again, slipstreaming, drafting is going to be the key factor here as they come onto the back straight. And if anything, Tyler Collins has just been able to sneak a bit closer to the rear bumper of Cam Wilson. And Wilson knows it because he's having to move it to the inside of the circuit to cover off any potential overtaking manoeuvre from Collins.
On the final lap now, so he's got to throw absolutely everything out at Tyler Collins. Can he get it done? Robotham seems to be just a little bit further back. Might not be close enough to challenge. Has to get that bump draft. They head down to turn number 4. Our race leaders on your screen. Cam Wilson, the Zenith Excel. Can he get it done? He's got a couple of Excel championships, state championships as well as national championships in Excel. He's raced many things. Started out in Geminis. Loves racing these small horsepower cars. It's all about your racecraft. Is in the background there. Hughes is looking to get a move done, but they're side by side for Wood and Kasha. And look at Hughes, pushes him along, working together. 2 cars is better than 1. They're on the inside line. Our leaders, though, as they come out of the final corner, that one's going to be exciting to watch as well. Hughes might be able to come down the inside if he can get the run on this one, try and get that position. It looks like Cam Wilson's going to get the win here in race number 3 of the Australian Excel Cup Series here at the 2 Days of Thunder, part of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series.
What a performance from Cam Wilson in a field this competitive to come away with 3 wins from 3 races so far. That has been an excellent performance from him. In the end, just 0.3 of a second back to Tyler Collins, who punched out the fastest lap of the race on the very last lap, getting down to a 1 minute 30.3. Jay Robotham rounding out our top 3 positions. Confirmation of your results. Cameron Bartholomew, another excellent performance from him as well. 12th on the grid up to 4th position. Jack Wood getting home for 5th ahead of Ryan Kasha and Jared Hughes in a battle that went right down to the wire. Dale Carpenter and Hugo Simpson, the 2 Victorians in 8th and 9th, with George Wood rounding out our top 10.
Yeah, what a race that was. And Lockie, we could go through so many races happening throughout the pack. There was the 3 at the front, then a battle for 4th position, another battle down the back there for 8th as well, and they were still too wide on the final lap. But the best thing about the Excels is we can fit them 4 wide on this track when they go into corners, and they managed to make it out of there as well. Let's check out the Hi-Tec Oils highlights of this race, and Cam Wilson, who's been so dominant this weekend, managed to make it into turn number 1 and maintain the lead, but down the back of the pack, we didn't maintain the lead, sorry. Robotham got this over, and we thought this was going to be a real challenge for the lead, and it was for several corners before Cam Wilson just got his groove on, but there was a very early start for one of the cars. Then we saw people start to come off the track.
A few cars running off the road on the opening lap of the race, but the scariest incident happened at the start of the second lap. Watch to the back of the shot, the car of Shane Marnie spearing off at high speed into the infield and ultimately ending up in the tyres. That triggered a safety car intervention, and at the restart it was Alice Buckley who was getting her ears boxed, got shuffled back outside the top 10 as our 3 race leaders, Cameron Wilson, Tyler Collins and Jalen Robotham, staged a vigorous battle that went all the way to the checkered flag.
Hughes just looking for a nice run out of that final corner in the hope that he might have made a couple of positions, and great to have him here as part of the Australian Hyundai Excel Series. Like I said, we saw him in Darwin, teamed up with Hayden Jackson there in that TA2 muscle car. So a big difference between a Hyundai Excel and a TA2 muscle car. Probably about double the size, I would say, and about 4 times the horsepower. So great to have them joining us. We will see them here this afternoon for their race number 4. Also, we are going to see them at Sydney Motorsport Park for their next round, and then down at Calder Park as well. So 3 rounds of this National Series in 2023, but that will be expanded into 2024. And great to have EFS 4x4 accessories on board supporting that category in this. A lot of up-and-coming races as well as some very experienced people within the field.
Indeed. It's quite amazing when you consider the popularity of Excel racing across Australia since its inception in New South Wales in 2013, that we haven't had a multiple round National Series up until now, but Brett Peters, who has very successfully run the Track Attack Australia Excel Racing Series in Queensland for a number of years, has got this national series off the ground, and it's fantastic to have it running as part of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. Let's catch up with our top 3 finishers who are down with Stephen White.
Thanks, Lockie. We've got Jalen Robotham third place there, but a tight fought tussle. Safety car in the middle, but you've come home with third.
Yeah, pretty happy to keep third place. You know, we had a good battle for the lead there with us 3, so it's yeah, we've got a little bit to work on, a little bit in the car to find for the last one. So yeah, hopefully we can, you know, make a tune up and be able to get the win.
Good on you, no worries. We'll work our way through to second position. Tyler Collins, great effort for second place, Tyler. Well done.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it was pretty full on. Got a great start, probably one of my best starts ever, and luckily Wilson played the game, so we just hooked on the back of him and managed to get just enough of a buffer on Jalen just to keep him behind. And I was thinking that last lap I was 3/10 up in my dash, and I thought maybe I could go for a go on Cam into turn 6, but wasn't to be. So, but still, great race and great points for the weekend.
No worries, good on you. We'll see you in the next race. And the winner for this one, Cam Wilson. Well done, congratulations. How was that for you?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, good to get a win always. Young fellas certainly keep me on it. I had my work cut out for me there. A little bit slower than I wanted through 1 and 2, and really allowed them to get back on. But you know, super proud of young Tyler. He's fairly new to the sport. I think only a year ago he wasn't even driving a manual car, and to be pedalling up, you know, particularly with Jalen. Myself, I've been doing this for 20-something years. It's a great effort. So good fun. I look forward to the final.
No worries, good on you. We'll see you in the final. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, great to see such a mixture of age there, I suppose, in our top 3, and yeah, some very young, talented drivers as part of the Hyundai Excel Series. And we do see, you know, from people building these in their garage all the way to race teams. Professional racing, We've seen Triple Eight, we've seen DJR, they've all built a Hyundai Excel at some stage. So, look, as it heads into an Australian championship, we're only going to see that level of competition get even better, and some of the best Excel races will take part in that next time we head down to Sydney. But of course, we've still got race 4 to come this afternoon for them in the EFS 4x4 Australian Hyundai Excel Series. Next out on track, though, we can go to something that's a little bit different compared to the Hyundai Excel. It's the Replica Tourers making their way onto the track.
This has been a very fast-growing Queensland category, the Replica Tourers Trophy Series. So the brainchild of Brian Smallwood, who's done lots of racing over many years in categories including the Gemini Series. And here is the grid. So Ian Woodward, who was the race winner of race 2 yesterday in the Camaro, will start on pole position ahead of the very experienced Jeff Russell, father of Supercars driver David Russell. Back to Stuart Walker, Steve Hay, Leonard Myers next, followed by Hunter Ferguson, Jason Habchi in the Tirana, Shane Tuxworth, John Robinson and Dylan Pereira in the BMW E36, the best of the up to 3.5 litre cars. Then it's Alan Hughes back to Michael Grimes, Taylor Herford and Samuel Allen, Rex Scholes, who came from the back of the grid yesterday, Harry Everett, Graham Woodward in the Mustang, Ashton Gailey back there in the Toyota 86, Chris Solomon in the Sprinter, the best of the 2-litre cars. And then over the page, Billy Scholes, Adam King, Adrian Burgess in the Gemini, Colin Fabry, Duke Hoffman, Nathaniel Rowe and Tony Rowe, the father and son team in the Toyota 86s. And at the back of the field, William Robinson in a Nissan Bluebird, which has been built up as a replica of the car, the sister car to the car that took pole position at Bathurst in 1984 in the hands of George Fury.
Yeah, and we're talking to these Replica Tourers before. It's sometimes it's just about getting a car and keeping the same make of engine in it, so you can start to do some upgrades to these cars, especially that Datsun there. They don't mind if you put FJ20 and an SR. You can bring the modern style under the bonnet here. But leading off the front row there, you're going to have to watch out for Russell, who's been a tough competitor. Jeff Russell, 71 years young, and of course his son racing as a co-driver in the supercars in the endurance racing this year as well. So with Brody Kostecki, so a well-known name within motorsport and doing a lot of mentoring, I suppose, up and down the grid. But Ian Woodward alongside of him in the Camaro, and he's been a tough competitor this weekend. You think it's old school versus new school, the ABS versus the older brakes, but there's plenty of upgrades done to these cars. The Replica Tourers go green here for their 3rd race at Queensland Raceway of the weekend, and there's plenty of action to be had
Great start from Ian Woodward in the Camaro. Jeff Russell in that production spec Mustang slots into second position, and we've got contact. That's Jason Habshi in the Tirana off the road at turn number 2. We got tangled up with another car there at the turning point of the second corner, and unfortunately he's gone off into the gravel trap. Here comes Steve Hay looking down on the inside of Stuart Walker. I dare say we're going to get a safety car as a result of Habshi's car being stuck in the gravel there, though, at turn number 2, unfortunately.
Yeah, very unfortunate. That's a gorgeous Tirana as well, as we see our recovery vehicle leave pit lane. The lights are on our safety car, so we're just waiting to see the yellow lights come up. But on the first lap, it's coming out of turn number 2 in the Habshi Tirana. It doesn't look too scarred up on this side of the car. Hopefully it was very, very light contact, and it's very unfortunate for him.
Yeah, that's a shame because he had worked his way up to 7th position in race number 2 yesterday. Let's check out a replay of the incident. Yes, so it was contact with one of the Commodores just on the fringe of the top 10 there. And unfortunately that has seen Habshi getting rotated off to the outside of the road there at turn number 2 and into the gravel trap.
Well, the Commodore really on the edge of the track, didn't want to drop the wheels in the dirt, and Habshi moving across. It's going to be a tough one for them, but not quite enough racing room for both cars to get on the outside of the track, and unfortunately Habshi, just a little bit of contact made on the rear wheel, spins him around. Doesn't look like, looks like the Commodore managed to brake first though, so didn't lay into the side of that car, and we'll have to wait and see what the outcome is. Maybe that was Shane Tuxworth possibly there, who started out of 8th position. We'll have to wait and see if something comes through from our race director for that one.
Oh, Rex Scholes coming into the pits in the Jack Daniels Commodore as well. I just saw there at the back of the shot. He's been in the cut and thrust of the action this weekend. He qualified really, really well, right up the pointy end in position number 5, but then had a spin at turn 1 in race 1 when he was trying to take evasive action to avoid colliding with other competitors. He wasn't able to get the car restarted and didn't finish. And he had to come from the back of the grid in race 2, worked his way up to 15th, but now, unfortunately, it looks like further dramas for that car, which is running the Jack Daniels livery, a throwback to the Perkins Motorsport and Kelly Racing supercars that ran in the championship in the late 2000s.
So throughout the Replica Tourers, we've got plenty of different cars, including the Holden Geminis in there. We've got Toyota 86s joining this category, Toyota Corolla as well, BMW E36. So they're accepting of a lot of different makes and models in this category, and it's really growing as we see one of our biggest entry lists for this one. Over 30 cars entered this weekend, and that's a big chunk of our 200 competitors taking part in the 2 Days of Thunder.
And as you explained earlier, the competitors are allowed to make modifications to their cars, but the engine must be the same brand as the car itself. So, for example, we've seen some of these older Toyotas like the Sprinter are powered by more modern Toyota engines, and here is a replay of... Oh, okay, so that would be why Rex Scholes is coming to the pits. I think he's picked up one of our Hi-Tec Oil Super Series signs.
Maybe it could be a Hi-Tec Oil sign as well. Yeah, he's definitely not going to want to be carrying on with that, because that will stop a lot of airflow going over the engine. Could cause a lot of heating problems. I wonder what it was when they grabbed it off the front. From a distance, it looked like they were holding a sign up. Maybe he got a stop-go penalty or something. I thought maybe something's happened in the background, but no, he's just collected some of our signage from around the track, and that's unfortunate. We'll be missing some.
Good news is that they've very quickly removed that signage, so he's back out on the track, albeit at the rear of the field. So all of the work that he did yesterday in coming through the pack, he'll have to do all over again. But good job once again from our volunteer officials here at Queensland Raceway. They have retrieved the Tirana of Jason Habshi, which means that the lights are out on the Ford Ranger safety truck, and we're set for a resumption. There'll be 6 laps to go. It's Ian Woodward leading the way ahead of Jeff Russell, with Stuart Walker sitting in 3rd position ahead of Steve Hay and Len Myers rounding out your top 5.
Restart underway, and we see the big horsepower of Woodward as he takes off. He does a lot of spanner work on these cars in the workshop, and very influential behind the engine builds, I do believe, and making the choices on how they're going to build them. And looks like he's going to maintain that lead over Jeff Russell there. I'm just having a look in the background. So much to unfold as these cars get through turn number 2. Hay managed to stay in 4th there in the group set. Oh no, the Nissan has spun out there. William Robinson in the background is now sideways on the track. I'm trying to pick up where that might be. Possibly coming out of turn number 1, but it doesn't look like it's trapped in the gravel. Maybe a mechanical issue caused by that.
Well, it looks like potentially coming out of the last corner before getting up to the start-finish line, but that is a great shame for Bill Robinson, who has worked very hard on building up that car. He has been able to get the car moving again, though, so unfortunately we're not going to need another safety car.
It's always nice when the safety car's reversing back into position, not getting out at the end of pit exit. So unfortunately there for Robinson, but we'll rejoin the race in the background. Let's get back to our race leaders and need to watch. Look at Hay making some big moves up into third position. Got past Walker now, and Jeff under brakes. The ABS doing its job, but they're almost three wide as they come out of that turn 6. I'd love to see the run down here to turn number 1. Hay's got a lot of horsepower in that car, and you can see it as he goes down the main straight, goes right past Jeff Russell into second position, but Russell's going to fight back under brakes, doesn't manage to get it done, and Walker now relegated to fourth position.
Obviously that Mustang's running the 5-litre Coyote Ford engine, which it's a very sophisticated engine compared to some of the other cars, but it just doesn't quite have the outright performance of some of the Holdens that have got LS engines, which in some cases have been stroked out in capacity. So Jeff Russell, like you said, isn't there. He's very much been under brakes with the ABS of the Mustang. Here we go, lead challenge for Steve Hay, who gets up the inside of Ian Woodward into turn 3, and it's now that Day Glow orange and white VK Commodore running the tribute livery to the Holden dealer team Commodores that was so successful in the early to mid-1980s. The car won Bathurst with Peter Brockin and Larry Perkins in 1984. It's Hay that leads the way.
So check out some of the Hi-Tec oils replays here, and this was the Nissan there of Robinson.
That's the tank slapper if I've ever seen one, man. Have I got it? Have I got it? Yeah. Nah.
I bet he's waiting for the Hi-Tec Drift All-Stars series to join us, I think, later on in the year, and maybe have to give you some pointers there to try and get that car under control. It didn't want to stop going side to side, did it? Trying to really unload the suspension on that car. As now it looks like Stuart Walker's going to have a crack at Jeff Russell, and can he get the move done down here? With Russell's going to have better braking into turn number 1, and he'll maintain that third position. Let's look at Ian Woodward, because he got pushed back into fourth position around that turn number 3 last lap, went very wide as Hay went down the inside, and we saw Russell and Walker make positions on him, and now he's dropped back a little bit. Maybe some issues there with Woodward. We'll have to wait and find out. In the meantime, let's head down to pit lane with Stephen White.
Good on you guys, and I've got Hugh McAllister with me, the driver of the number 6 Mustang, McAllister Ford Mustang. We were just chatting to you about what you've done and where you've been through various things, and you've gone to Trans Am, come back to TA2. How's the year been for you so far?
Yeah, look, we've had a bit of a tough start to the year for sure. Had a bit of an incident at Winton, bit of an incident at Darwin, so we're not travelling too well in the points, but we're still having a good time.
And Darwin, you were talking about, you did that with George Badicki, so that was a pretty cool experience, and obviously a long way to go, but you're having a good run until that last race.
Yeah, we were. It was something different, having that, co-driver event and driver change also, and up in Darwin, what a cool event. That was such a nice place to go to, and look, hope it goes back there next year, it'd be great, but yeah, we had a great time.
Excellent, Brendan. And we're just chatting about Dad. Jack of all trades behind you there. I think it was transport operator and logistics and cook and everything else. So yourself and Dad have been around this sport for a long time, but certainly TA2 cars something that you've come back to, and obviously you're enjoying it.
Yeah, no, loving it. Dad's been there, driven them. So he's head of logistics, head chef, got many roles in the team. So we couldn't do it without him, that's for sure.
No worries. We'll look forward to seeing you. We've got a couple of rounds off, coming back at Calder Park for the finish, so that'll be fantastic.
Yeah, look forward to finishing some cool events at the end of the season, so we can't wait. It'll be fantastic.
Thanks again. Thanks you. No worries. Thank you, guys.
Another great family to have down there in the TA2 muscle car pits, the McAllisters, and they get around. What I'm not liking seeing our footage up here is the safety car has the lights on, and at pit exit we did have a car off there in the gravel, Lockie. Who was it?
That was either Tony or Nathaniel Rowe, one of the Toyota 86s. It's a father and son team that run those Toyota 86s, just waiting on confirmation to see which one it was. They've actually been pretty much inseparable all weekend. In fact, it's Nathaniel, so it's the son that's gone into the gravel trap there. And Ian Woodward, unfortunately, in the Camaro, our early race leader, has stopped at the crossover, the section of road that connects the entry to turn 6 with the exit of turn 3. And a lot of smoke puffing out of our race leader Steve Hay's car now as well. So dramas for a couple of our main race contenders here. Steve Hay struggling with some sort of issue in the VK Commodore now as well.
It only seems to be when he's got the car under load in a certain direction. So that could be some tyre rubbing on something. Hopefully that's all it is for him. You won't want to cut that. that could cause a big issue for him, currently leading the race. But we were down to the last couple of laps, so we could end up seeing this finished under safety car if we don't get this car recovered very quickly.
Which would be a shame, because it has been a thoroughly entertaining race. Big thank you to all of our volunteer officials here at Queensland Raceway. They've had to work hard today because we've had a number of incidents, but they've done a very efficient job of retrieving cars that have come to rest at various points around the track, and also repairing tyre walls and gravel traps and other safety features that we have here at this circuit.
They'll be visiting the Hi-Tec fuels bay. They will out the back there to try and fill up, I reckon, after today's work, because they've done quite a bit of work. Surprisingly, the last couple of days through practice and day one of competition, we haven't seen too many cars actually go off the track, and recovery wasn't used a lot. They were having a bit of a rest, but we've definitely made up for that today, unfortunately, in the Autoglass Warehouse 86 now being retrieved from that gravel, and it's very, very unfortunate. I'm just trying to see the laps remaining. So we're down to the final lap. I think this is probably going to be finished under yellow, unfortunately, for these cars. So the Replica Tourers are probably going to finish exactly how we see them up on our timing screen at the moment, with Hay with a win, and he'll be looking to go back. Hopefully he's heard us on the footage, and he'll be going to find out exactly where that smoke's coming from. It does look like tyre smoke to me, though, Lockie, but you never know.
And I noticed that Ian Woodward managed to get his Camaro mobile as well, so whatever the problem was, it could have just been something as simple as a kill switch that accidentally got flicked in the cockpit. He's managed to get the car fired up again, and he has rejoined, although he's now a long way down the order. So hearing from race control that we will see the checkered flag this time around, so it's going to be Steve Hay who will chalk up the race victory in race number 3 of the weekend for the Replica Tourers Trophy Series.
Yeah, they're going to have to. They did a bit of clean up on the track still to go, with all that kitty litter spread over the place. Jeff Russell will be in second position, and we'll go back to Stuart Walker in third. Your top 3 here when it comes to the Replica Tourers for race number 3 this weekend at Queensland Raceway. It's round 3 of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. For round number 4, we head a little bit more west inland to Warwick. We go to Morgan Park. We return there for this national series, and that's going to be another fantastic event with a lot of these categories also joining us on the category list as well. So we'll get to see these categories again, and it's great to see them supporting so much Queensland racing and the numbers they get out here as well. I expect we're going to see some big entry numbers there as we go into round number 4 and join us and support the categories.
Indeed, and we've got a couple of other national categories back on the program at Morgan Park as well. The Mazda RX-8 Cup Series will be back with us. Steve Hay, your race winner here ahead of Jeff Russell, Stuart Walker, back to Leonard Myers, Hunter Ferguson and Shane Tuxworth, back to Alan Hughes. Dylan Pereira wins the up to 3.5 litre class in 8th outright, back to John Robinson in 9th. Michael Grimes in the Camaro rounding out the top 10. Back then to Samuel Allen, Ashton Gangley, Harry Everett, Taylor Herford in 14th, Graham Woodward, the Mustang driver, in 15th, back to Adrian Burgess, Roger Pfeiffer in 17th, then Chris Solomon in the Toyota Sprinter, Adam King and Rex Scholes back up to 20th position after that unscheduled pit stop.
Yeah, nice recovery from him in the Jack Daniels Commodore. And we just have a look at some of the names. Ian Woodward manages 25th in the end, so he got the Camaro restarted after that fantastic start. He's been fairly dominant throughout the racing, a second in race 1, first in race 2, so very unfortunate for Woodward. Hopefully that's just something minor mechanical that he can repair before the next race. In the meantime, let's head down to Stephen White in pit lane.
Thanks, Matty. I have with you Brad Gartner, driver of the number 22 Mustang. Brad, not a very good race for you, TA2 race for you this morning. Unfortunately, you've had an issue, so perhaps tell us about it.
Yeah, so we were coming into turn 4, and the front caliper is leaking. The seal's gone in some matter, so yeah, pedaled to the floor fully. So I think we left the track at about 220 k's and tried to do everything I could to avoid everything, but there was no stopping. So yeah, backed her into the tyre wall, and yeah, pretty upset, but extremely grateful for the cars, how it's built. So they're extremely safe, so I'm not hurt. Cars all good, like the chassis is all good, probably just cosmetics and the panels and that will go back on. So yeah, extremely grateful.
And obviously yourself, you know, you've had a couple of incidents this year, and You've been able to recover from those, and there's no problem with your driving and your recovery, so there's no issues there, and I'm sure you're going to be fine. It's obviously a little bit scary when you're going backwards into something, and that reaction time is what we're looking for and what you need to see. But, of course, the rear brakes are going to be the ones that are working, not the front.
Yeah, that's right. It was natural instinct was just to turn. Obviously, I was foot on the brake pedal, even though I was sort of just bracing. But, yeah, backed it in, probably the safest option. I went back into the seat, so that probably saved, you know, the neck and all of that G-force going forward. So, yeah, that was good. But, yeah, obviously we've had a lot of stuff go wrong this year. We can't afford that as a low-budget team, so it's taken its toll on myself and the family and all the teams. But we'll keep pushing, and, yeah, I'll do my best to rock up for round 4.
Well, I think I'm not going to let him go too early. We might get another pit lane reporter because I'm getting a bit old for running around. You just never know what we might use you. But thanks, Brad, and we'll see you obviously at the next round. And talking to Cam, the car's repairable, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, car's repairable. They'll do the best they can, and I'm sure they'll get behind me to get back to round 4. That's what we're looking for. But, yeah, I'll hustle in the meantime to keep the budget up.
Good on you. No worries. Thanks, Brad. Thank you. Back to you guys.
Unfortunate to see that damage. Let's check out the Hi-Tec Oils highlights, though, of the Replica Tourers as they got off for their race number 3. It was meant to be 10 laps out there, and it was unfortunately finished under safety car, but this is how it all started. Ian Woodward had a nice start there. He got the Camaro to the front, and we saw Hay there in 4th position battling it out with Stuart Walker. Then there was this incident coming into turn number 2. It was the 77 of Jason Habchi in the Tirana that got spun out there, a little bit of contact, and later on Scholes would pick up one of our signage around the track, had to make a tour through pit lane there so that someone could remove that.
Then we saw this tank slapper involving the Nissan entry of Bill Robinson. He ended up spinning off to the circuit. That was just prior to one of the safety car race starts. And then problems for Ian Woodward out early race later in the Camaro, having to pull off the track at the crossover. That, combined with an excursion from one of the Toyota 86s, necessitated another safety car, and ultimately the race finished under safety car conditions. Stephen White is with our top 3 finishers.
Thanks, Lockie. I have Stuart Walker with me. Fantastic effort, Stuart. 3rd place.
Thanks, Steve. It was a little bit of a shame to finish under safety car, I guess, but it was a bit of good racing there, so...
And you've been enjoying your time. This 2 days of thunder, fantastic weather. I mean, it's a bit cloudy now, but you've had a good run, and obviously the car looks fantastic, but a great result, 3rd for this race.
Yeah, pretty happy with it. We had a little bit of understeer issue with it yesterday, which we're trying to tune out for today, but I think the weather conditions are probably going to help us a little bit, being cooler, so hopefully the race this afternoon will go full distance.
No worries. Good on you. Thank you. And we'll move over to 2nd place, Jeff Russell in the Mustang. We'll grab Jeff. I keep saying Jeff, father of David, but it might be David, David, son of Jeff, the way we're driving. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much. That was a very enjoyable race. I'd like to thank Hi-Tec Oil for their support for this meeting. It was fantastic, AASA, and the other competitors. We've got a great lot of competitors here, and they're all very respectful, and it's a lot of fun.
Good on you, Jeff. No worries. We'll see you in the next race. Thank you. And your 1st place driver, Steve Hay, in the Group C. Pretty iconic delivery, pretty iconic livery there on this VK Commodore, Steve, and nice to see it winning.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Car's running good. Off-season, we had it all tuned up, and, yeah, it's going really well.
This car, you've had this car for some time. This car's been around for a long time for you, isn't it?
I've had it for about 10 years. First raced it in a Group A look-alike, but as I want to go faster, I put bigger tyres on it, and that's why I went to Big Banger theme.
Good on you, Steve. Well done. Fantastic. Sorry to finish under safety car, but we'll see you next race.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Well, we've already stepped back a little bit in time when it came to the Replica Tourers, but we're going to go back once again just a bit more to the 60s and 70s. Our next category up will be our Group N touring cars making their way out on the track, and it will be their race number 4, just short 6 laps. But how good do these cars look, especially when you get something like a little Escort like that come out in those bright, vibrant colours.
In Group N, it's a period-correct category, so it's a genuine historic representation of cars that used to run on Australian racetracks back in the 1960s and 70s, so very limited modifications allowed. They like to keep them as close to how they ran in the period as possible. So we've got Mustangs, we've got Camaros, we've got Tirana XU1s, famous for winning Bathurst in 1972 in the hands of the late, great Peter Brock. We've also got some smaller capacity cars, including a couple of Ford Escorts, Datsun 1600 and a BMW 2002. But up the front, It's Aldo Di Paoli who's won all 3 of the races that we've had so far this weekend, but he was challenged for the win in the previous race by Ian Mewett in the Ford Mustang, who retired from race 1 with mechanical problems, came from the rear of the field up to position number 3 in race 2, and then was able to challenge Di Paoli for the lead in race number 3. So this should be a pretty exciting race between those 2 drivers, Paoli and Mewett, who will share the front row of the grid. Then we go back to Grant Wilson, who's been pretty quick in his Camaro this weekend, and Stephen Scales also in a Camaro out of position number 4. Graham Roble in the Mustang will line up out of grid position number 5. Best of our Tirana XU1 drivers, David Street starting out of position number 6 ahead of Graham Street. Then we go back to Morn Lombard in the Ford Escort, Harvey Black, Christopher McElwain in the Datsun 1600, back to John Tupikoff in the BMW 2002. Phil Ross in position number 12, and I'm just looking to see if Bruce Dummett has made the grid. He was a non-finisher in race 3 earlier on, but he has been one of the fastest Tirana drivers throughout the weekend and has taken the fight right up to some of the more powerful cars. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't look like Bruce Dummett is out there. That's a great shame, because he was certainly turning it on with some great late-braking manoeuvres, but 6 laps the distance. Final race of the weekend for the Group N historic touring cars at Queensland Raceway, and a sideways start for Ian Mewett in the Mustang Fastback. The car got squirrely under acceleration, and he's only just going to hold on to second position ahead of Grant Wilson as they negotiate their way through turn 1.
Managed to get the control back under the car there for Mewett, and he holds on to position number 2. But let's watch him out of this turn. The car really on that left-hand side of the suspension, and I don't know what happened. Maybe it was just the horsepower as they took off, but it definitely spun the wheels there and got sideways. Almost contact made with Paoli, but Paoli now has a nice little gap. Only about half a second out in front, but he's going to hold on to that one at the moment as Wilson now tries to get up the inside of Mewett, starting to challenge him as they come out of turn number 3, and Mewett loose again. It's almost like there's something leaking under the rear tyres of that car.
Certainly the car with a lot more attitude than you would expect in these early stages of the race. As Grant Wilson gets very sideways on the run through turn number 4, it's going to be a bit of an invitation for Graham Roble in the Mustang to close in onto him. But it's Aldo Di Paoli who leads the way. That Camaro has looked and sounded superb all weekend and has run at the front of the field all weekend as well.
I'll have to keep an eye on these 2 cars. Mewett's still moving around, as well as Wilson, possibly with some fluid out there. But we'll wait and find out as they complete only 6 laps in this race. As they complete lap number 1, it's already been an exciting start, and these cars like to move around. They get a lot of attitude. As you say, they try and keep to the original specifications of the car, which means we see so much more suspension travel in these cars compared to the more modern cars, and moving around like Mewett. He's pushing hard. Understeer there, though. The number 51 car there of Scales as he comes around the corner. He's under attack from the Mustang behind him. He's going to have to watch out for Roble.
So Stephen Scales has actually been able to overtake Graham Roble as we turn our attention back to the top 3 competitors in this battle between Scales and Roble. Just behind them, David Street in the Tirana XU1, running race number 202, which is quite appropriate given that that car is running the 202 cubic inch, the 3.3 litre 6-cylinder Holden motor that powered not just the Tirana but also the HQ Kingswoods of that era.
As you can see, they're starting to spread out now. Our leaders 1, 2 and 3, but the battle's still on for 4th position back there between Scales and Roble now. As Scales starts to wind up the Camaro, opens up a little bit of a gap, a puff of smoke under brakes. It's really hard to turn these cars in. Not as much traction as you would see from our later model cars, but moving at great pace down the main straight here at Queensland Raceway as they throw it into turn number 1 again. Mewett's still on the edge of grip in that Mustang. There can't be much left.
These are the cars that made the legends of a lot of Aussie race drivers of the 1960s and 70s. You think of names like Pete Gagan and Norm Beachy. Alan Moffat, of course, was very successful in a Mustang and later on a Falcon GTHO. Peter Brock in the Tirana. We saw Colin Bond racing these cars as well. Bob Jane, another prominent driver of that era. And when you have the experience of driving one of these cars and you understand how physical it is to drive, I'll tell you what, those drivers were absolute heroes.
Yeah, back in the day when they still had day jobs and they didn't go to the gym and work out and be physically fit. They just got in the race cars and they made it happen out there. And you remember the days where you see them get out for their pit stop and have a bottle of Coke and a cigarette while they got back in the car. But very different days in racing now.
Well, they just had, normal lap sash seat belts, none of the 6-point harnesses that we have in race cars these days. Cross-ply tyres, drum brakes that you had to pump when you got to the bottom of Conrod Straight, and you were never sure just how well they were going to work.
Oh, they're still getting around a great category here in Queensland as they head back down, complete another lap. It's only 3 laps remaining in this race. We're at the halfway point. The Group N cars, the 60s and 70s are back. And we've got them on track here at the moment. Our leaders up on your screen, and it is a Paoli leading over Mewett, who's starting to make some ground now and close it up. It's just under half a second, and the Mustang looking ominous in the side mirrors there for Paoli, who's having to move over and just be a little bit defensive at this point.
Ian Mewett keeping the pressure on. He's stepped into the Mustang after previously racing an old model Jaguar Mark 1 in the Group N category. And the Mustang, obviously a far more competitive proposition at the front of the field, and Mewett is driving it beautifully.
Great shots. You see them get under brakes going through turns 4 and 5. Just Wilson just dropping back a little bit now and not looking to be making any ground on position number 2 of Mewett in the Mustang. So Wilson having a look at the lap times there. He's about 0.3 of a second behind, but Mewett on the outside now as we see Paoli turns in. Mewett goes out wide, tries to get the drive onto the main straight, comes back in, sliding the car out. It's all the acceleration it has as they head down the main straight, and the best lap did come from Mewett earlier on in the race. We'll have a look at their times now. Oh, he's caught him by a 10th, Mewett. Just 1/10 every lap. It's down to 0.37 of a second.
So the pressure on De Paoli, this is the closest race that we've had. This is the most pressure that Aldo De Paoli has been under all weekend. And I'll tell you what, Grant Wilson not that far away either. He's lurking back there in position 3, and he was faster than both of our race leaders last time through. So only 1.7 seconds separating our 3 race leaders with a lap and a half remaining.
And Scales and Roble in the background, you can see they are still fighting at it for this 4th position, as well as they want to try and see if maybe Roble can get that position back before the end of this race. We're on the penultimate lap right now as they head round turn number 4. And you see there's moments throughout this where Mewett is very, very strong, and De Paoli just starts to creep away through this section of the track and looks a little bit more comfortable. Mewett needs to reset, maybe can have one more shot as they come around turn number 6. They'll complete this lap and head on to the final one of this race. How much understeer do these cars have? You see them turn it in. You can see the big sidewalls on them as well of those tyres, and they just start to roll over and slide around more and more as the laps go on in this race.
De Paoli has responded fastest lap of the race, that time through a 1 minute 22.5. He's been able to open up a 1.5 second margin over Ian Mewett, so he's responded to the pressure. But look at how sideways he gets through turn number 2. Full fistful of opposite lock required to keep that Camaro on the black stuff. As we see Scales and Roble continuing their dice for positions 4 and 5.
That's a great little dice they have in there as well, as they see the flames coming out of the exhaust under deceleration from Mewett as they get the Mustang turned, and yeah, fistful of opposite lock now for Wilson as he gets the Camaro straight down into turn number 4. Had to straighten that right up. De Paoli, you think's probably in an unbeatable position at this point, but not backing off one bit, and as they slide around, anything could go wrong. A little bit of smoke now coming out the back of Mewett's car. Might be some tyre smoke. Very thin whispers. De Paoli coming into the final corner, just needs to pull it up under brakes in the Camaro. Slides it right around, puts a show on for our crowd down there. And as he straightens it up, runs it down the straight, the checkered flag will come out and the win will go to Aldo De Paoli. Will get this win in race number 4 of the Group N. cars here today, and it will be Ian Mewett and Grant Wilson rounding out our top 3.
Stephen Scales holding on for 4th position there ahead of Graham Roble. And then best of our Tirana drivers will be David Street, who will come home ahead of Graham Street. There is David Street in the white Tirana XU1, Graham in the orange car. Go back to Morn Lombard. In fact, it's been a pretty good battle between the 2 Ford Escort drivers, Morn Lombard and Harvey Black. There they are coming out of the last corner. Distinctive colour schemes on both of those Ford Escorts, who have a nice drag race to the line. Lombard just holding out Black. And then rounding out the top 10 will be Christopher McElwain.
Well, nice race from our Group N touring cars here, our historic touring cars, as they've made it on the bill here for the 2 days of thunder at Queensland Raceway. Yes, we are in Ipswich again this weekend for round number 3 of the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series. Next time we head to Morgan Park. Well, let's check out our results from this Group N historic touring cars, and it's Aldo Di Paoli in number 1, Ian Mewett 2nd in the Mustang, Grant Wilson the Camaro in 3rd, Stephen Scales and Graham Roble had a nice little battle there for 4th position before we went back to David Street in the Tirana, Graham Street right behind Morn Lombard and Harvey Black. Great little stoush between the Escorts there. That was great to look at, and of course there's McElwain in 10th position.
Phil Ross rounding out our finishers in position 11 aboard the number 77 at Mustang. Unfortunately, we didn't see the BMW of Supercop or the Tirana have done it. Here are some highlights from the final race of the weekend for the Group N historic touring cars, and Mewett was putting on highlights right from the get-go, getting sideways under acceleration at the start, and they would keep the pressure on Aldo Di Paoli right throughout the race. These cars are easy to make mistakes in because they are so physically demanding to drive, and we saw both of our drivers having some brake lock-ups and some big sideways moments at various stages of the race. In the end, it was Di Paoli who completed a clean sweep of the weekend in his number 96 Camaro.
What a celebration it was coming out of that final corner, sideways in the Camaro. Completes his weekend, will maximise the points too. And great to see our Group N historic tourers getting out on track, and great shots here at Queensland Raceway. Look at the amount of competitors that have been part of this great event, almost 200. When we look through the entry lists, huge event here at Queensland Raceway, and hopefully we will get a return next year for the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series as they come in. Our top 3 will make their way down pit lane, and we can't wait to catch up with them very shortly. The place is looking absolutely fantastic, all the signage around. We've got some cloudy skies today, which we thought might play a fair bit to do with the racing, but it's held out so far. We're still watching the radar there, and we'll see what happens. A little bit of a breeze coming across the track now, but it's cool conditions for all of our spectators here today in Ipswich. Great to see so many of our HSV cars up there at the top of the hill where the main spectators are, and the Shannon's Insurance truck as well. Really putting on a festivity of motorsport here this weekend.
Just goes to show, doesn't you, when you get those aerial drone shots, it makes you appreciate just how many cars there are in the paddock area, and like you said, really well attended by not just spectators but by the competitors. We've had fantastic entry numbers this weekend. Looking forward to the next round of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series at Morgan Park on the 8th and 9th of July. We'll then travel south to Sydney Motorsport Park on the 13th and 14th of October, and Calder Park in November, rounding out our calendar. Stephen White is with our top 3 place getters for Group N.
Thanks, Lockie. With Grant Wilson, 3rd place in that race. You and Ian had a fantastic battle.
Oh, yeah. Come back, tyres went off a little bit, and I sort of calmed down a little bit and then got control and just out horsepowered, you know. So, I gave it my hardest. I was driving to the limit.
Yeah, good on you. And this event for you is a fantastic event, 2 days of thunder.
It's an awesome event. I've been coming here for probably 15 years, racing Group N and Trans Am, and just awesome. Yeah, thank QR is just, they've just put it on and it's way good. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well done. We'll see you in the next one. And I've got Ian Mewett. Ian, fantastic effort, 2nd place. I think you caught up to Aldo, and then he took off again for you. But fantastic battle between you and Ian. Well done. Or Grant, I should say.
It's fabulous to race against Aldo. We're lucky to have him here from Western Australia. So he's the benchmark. So the Mustang's still hanging in there against the Camaro.
And you've been coming to this event for a while, 2 days of thunder, or how long have you had this car?
I have had this car 5 years, and I've probably done this race twice before.
Yeah, Fantastic, and obviously good, so far good weather. Looks like it's a bit overcast, but it's certainly good weather for a race car.
Perfect weather for touring cars because it's hot in there.
No worries, fantastic. Thank you for your efforts. And we've got Aldo Di Pioli, who's the winner of the Group N race here in the fantastic looking Camaro. I heard the boys talking about a bit of history before, and this is where all our heroes came from in the 60s. Certainly vehicles like this, people like Bob Jane, etc., were very famous for racing cars like this. So fantastic to see it in the winner's circle, and fantastic to see such a well-presented race car. We might actually talk to Aldo while he's sitting in there. Aldo, well done. Fantastic victory in the Group N race.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No worries. Obviously, this car, it's a immaculate looking car. Have you had this car for long?
Had about 5 years, yeah. So it was a South Australian car built by a gentleman over there. We picked it up in 2018, and ever since then we've been campaigning it and having a great time coming to this side of the country and having a bit of a spin and enjoying the different tracks, I suppose. Yeah, it's been good.
Well done, no worries. They always say a good-looking race car always goes fast, so well done. Back to you guys for the race start.
All right, time to get it underway. The Australian Trans Am up next for their race number 5 here this weekend, and we are already green and underway. The 60s and early 70s American cars are on track. Lachlan already exciting side by side from our race leaders.
This is a blast from the past as well, this category. It's open to any two-door, four-seat American car from 1963 through to 1974. Alwyn Bishop, who has won all 4 of the races that we've had so far in his Plymouth Duster, leading the way ahead of John Prefontaine in the number 21 Mustang. Prefontaine has been super strong under brakes all weekend, and he sends it down the inside of Bishop into turn number 3 and goes through to take the lead. Bishop falls back into the clutches of Ian Palmer in the Pontiac Firebird, and Sean English in his Mustang is involved in that contest as well. But what a move from John Prefontaine, coming from a long way back, diving down on the inside of Alwyn Bishop into turn number 3 and taking the lead.
We saw Mark Spencer in the background there coming out of turn 3, quite loose as well, but the battle's going to continue on at the front here as we see the Plymouth Duster on the outside there of Bishop. Can he get the move done? Oh no, a spin out there now for Gareth Jones in the 66 Mustang out in the middle of the track. And it looks like he's trying to start that car. We can see the black smoke coming out the exhaust. And how sideways are they coming onto the main straight? I just want to know, does Jones get that car started? Has the Mustang moved?
Let's keep our fingers crossed that Gareth Jones has been able to get that car out of harm's way. Great to have Gareth Jones running this weekend. Warren Wadley is out there as well in the number 9 Camaro, running a tribute livery to the Channel 9 Camaro that was famously raced by Kevin Bartlett at Bathurst in the early 1980s. Gareth Jones has managed to get moving again, which is good news, so we won't need a safety car for that one. And Mark Spencer now putting some pressure on Ian Palmer as they head down to turn 3.
Well, we'll see these Mustangs slightly lighter. Sometimes they do get the bigger cars under brakes, but he's gone a little bit wide there, and you can see the correction of the steering. A lot more of these cars sliding around this weekend. We'll check out the Hi-Tec Oils replay, and pulls the car up, and wow, they managed to avoid contact by just centimetres that time as they go around. Was on the opening lap, so you can still see our safety car or our medical car in the background as they follow them around. And great shots from above as you see them slide all over the place. Our battle at the moment on your screen for 4th position between Palmer and Spencer. Spencer in the 44 Mustang will head down to this final corner of this lap.
And Ian Palmer celebrating his birthday today. What a fantastic way to spend your birthday, racing some cool US Trans Am cars.
Slides it out of the corner there for Spencer. Can he get the run down into turn number 1? He's side by side with Palmer. He looks like he's got the horsepower. How will they go under brakes? Who's going to hold on to the longest? And Spencer will get himself into position number 4 now. And Palmer goes back to P5.
It's the highest that Mark Spencer has run all weekend. He's actually the points leader coming into the weekend, but he hasn't quite had the pace of the front runners throughout the weekend. So Mark Spencer, good job there to move up into 4th position. As we see Alwyn Bishop challenging John Prefontaine. The key thing here is that John Prefontaine's Mustang has a 5-litre engine. Alwyn Bishop in the Plymouth Duster has a 6-litre, so a fair difference in capacity between those two cars, and Prefontaine's Mustang doesn't quite have the straight line speed, but like I said, he's been doing a great job under brakes all weekend as we see a replay of that move. Spencer getting down the inside of Ian Palmer there.
Yeah, just having a look at Bishop, waiting for the moments where he can get the Plymouth into the position to try and challenge Prefontaine, who's very, very strong, already setting the fastest lap of this race so far, a 1:22.15. It's a quick car, but he's not too far behind. We're talking less than a tenth of a second. Back to Bishop there when it comes to lap times. What's the difference? They head across the start-finish line, blows it out to 0.6 of a second. So it's not too much. One little error could see Bishop on the back of Prefontaine once again. Big 48, the lime green Plymouth Duster. How appealing does it look out there on the racetrack? And a bit of a shame we don't have more daylight out there, because it was fantastic yesterday with the sun on it.
It was. It's such a distinctive colour scheme, such a distinctive car as well. It has an enormous presence on the racetrack, and lining up the engine in that car and closing in on Prefontaine down the straight. But then you'll see that when they get into the braking zone, Prefontaine's just able to ekes out a couple of car lengths aboard that Well-Pro Mustang. John Prefontaine, he's got a background of running a supercharged Lotus Exige in the production sports cars here at Queensland Raceway. So the Lotus, you think about it being a very lightweight, nimble handling car, so jumping into the big heavy Mustang will be a bit of a culture shock for John Prefontaine, who was sharing that car with his dad Ron Prefontaine in this year's series, but John has done a really good job behind the wheel right throughout the weekend.
Doesn't look like he's making too much ground on Prefontaine at the moment. A bit of a brake lock up in the background there for Bishop. That'll hurt him as he tries to close down this gap to the race leader. They were both on the front row of the grid at the start of this race, and still in the background you can see doing laps is Sean English, who's not in any battle at all at the moment. He's just getting the laps, and he can see the leaders out in front. He needs to watch out behind though, because Mark Spencer in the 44 Mustang has got him in his sights, so we could see them go at it a little bit later on in this race. Only 8 laps to complete, and we're already halfway through that.
And Mark Spencer's actually just punched out the fastest lap of the race, so starting to turn up the week in car number 44 and demonstrate some of the pace that we saw from that car in round number 1 of the series, where he took the overall round victory. It's going to be a bit too little too late though this weekend in terms of getting himself onto the round podium with positions as they are at the moment. John Prefontaine will finish second overall for the round behind Alwyn Bishop. Sean English looks set to finish in at third position overall based on points across the weekend's 5 races.
So watching our race leaders at the moment, Prefontaine seems to have a steady lead over Alwyn Bishop, who can't close the gap down. Prefontaine just 1/10 by 1/10 every lap, opening up that gap, making sure he can get the win in this final race. We've seen this great stoush between these two actually over the weekend. Of course, this is race number 5, the final race for them over the weekend. Bishop winning race number 1 and 2, or the first 3 races this week. Qualified number 1, winning the first 2 races this weekend. Actually, the first 3 races this weekend. But Prefontaine has been there the entire time, challenging in the Mustang.
Ian Palmer's fallen well back, and he's lapping in the 1:25s at the moment, so I don't think that Pontiac Firebird is performing to its full potential in this race, because Ian Palmer's been a lot faster in the previous 4 races and a lot closer to the lead pack. So unfortunately, Ian Palmer's car not quite doing the job for him in this final race of the weekend. But good to have him out there in the Pontiac Firebird. Like I said, he is celebrating his birthday. And he's been a long-time campaigner in all different forms of Australian motorsport. We've seen him in the past running a Lamborghini in the Australian GT Championship, and also a Honda NSX back in the Pro Car days, and now he's switched his focus to historic motorsport, running in that beautiful orange Pontiac Firebird. Here's Sean English, the son of John English, in the number 10 Mustang, currently sitting in position 3. And Stephen has an update for us from down in the pits.
Yeah, thanks, Lockie. Just thought I'd take the opportunity to have a look at the Nicholas Bates car. As you can see, it's absolutely back to the original condition. Save a couple of bits of race tape here and there, but just interesting to know that this has broken a steering arm. So obviously they've done a couple of other repairs to it along the journey. There it is, ready to go racing in about just over half an hour or so's time. So the TA2 car's obviously very modular. You can fix things pretty quickly, and most importantly, nice and safe, as we spoke to Brad Gartner about before. So I just think that's pretty fascinating. There it is, ready to go. The boys will probably run a string line around it. They'll be good to go for the next race.
turnaround there for the base racing team. You can see Haynes' team alongside them, both based out of the ACT, so that the crew in the background also helping them get that car back out on track. It's not going to challenge Josh Haynes this weekend for the lead. He's going to have to start off the back of the field in this next race for the TA2 muscle cars. But we'll go back to our Australian Trans Am race. Out there is a brake lock up from Prefontaine, a mistake, and can Bishop capitalise on this one? I don't think he's going to get close enough though, Lockie. But this is where it's going to come down in the final corners here. Just a lap and a half remaining, and any error like that from Prefontaine will allow Alwyn Bishop to get back into this race.
Well, Alwyn Bishop would have seen that brake lock up from John Prefontaine, and that's going to give him the incentive to attack Prefontaine for the lead heading on to this final lap. We know that Alwyn Bishop's Plymouth Duster has heaps of front, so if he can get within range of Prefontaine heading onto the back straight, that's going to be his best opportunity to challenge for a late passing manoeuvre for the lead.
Well, our final lap now here in the Australian Trans Am race number 5. It's their final race of the weekend of the 2 days of Thunder in the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series round number 3. Having a look down the inside of our back straight, maybe just getting some fresh air in on those brakes so we can try and pull that Plymouth Duster up into turn number 3. It's a hard braking area, and Prefontaine goes a little bit wide there, and I love the flames coming out of the exhaust in the deceleration. Going back down the gears, slides it out though for Bishop.
So only a few corners left for John Prefontaine. He needs to make sure he's accurate and on line through turns 4, 5 and 6 on this final lap to make sure that Bishop has no opportunity to make a late lunge.
Looked there for a second maybe that English was under attack from Spencer, but that gap has opened back out in the background there, the battle for third position. But our winners heading into the final corner of race 5. And it looks like Prefontaine just needs to hold on to this final corner. The 21 Mustang slides it out a little bit. They both celebrate as they come out. Prefontaine will get the win here. Race number 5 of the Australian Trans Am, followed by Alwyn Bishop. We'll wait to see who's going to get over the line next. It looks like it's going to be Sean English to come through, and then Mark Spencer in the 44 Mustang. What a drive from him to make it all the way up and only be about a second off Spencer there as they come across the finish line. Unfortunately for Ian Palmer, who's celebrating his birthday today. Looks like it's not really going his way in the Pontiac Firebird. A lot slower than what we have seen him in the previous races, but you know, bad day at the racetrack's got to be a good day at work.
Exactly right. So Ian Palmer coming home there in position number 5. And yeah, like you said, the Firebird just not performing at its optimum pace in that final race. But John Prefontaine picks up his first race victory of the weekend, defeating Alwyn Bishop, who won at the first 3 races. Bishop will take the overall round victory, though, ahead of Prefontaine, with Sean English rounding out our podium in terms of the overall results for the weekend. Confirmation here of your finishing positions for the 5th and final race of the weekend for Australian Trans Am. John Prefontaine, your winner, ahead of Alwyn Bishop. Sean English and Mark Spencer back to Ian Palmer. Leonard Baum in position 6 back to Gareth Jones, who recovered to finish in 7th position after that spin on the opening lap. And Warren Wanley coming home in position 8.
Well, let's have a look at our Hi-Tec Oils highlights now for this race 5 of the Australian Trans Am cars, and it was in turn number 1 we thought we were going to see Bishop. He tried to take the lead there, but Prefontaine did not want to give it up. Hung around the outside. Early on, though, it was in the opening lap there. It was the 66 here of Gareth Jones, who spun out in the Mustang, managed to get that going, so we didn't see a safety car come out. That was great, but moving his way through the pack was Mark Spencer in the 44 Mustang. Ian Palmer seemingly having some issues there in the Pontiac Firebird, but Prefontaine, once he got in front, although the car was sliding around, he managed to hold out a hard-charging Alwyn Bishop there in the Plymouth Duster, who had a bit of a lock-up in the second last lap. He thought he was going to have a moment there, and Prefontaine made a couple of little errors. We thought maybe Bishop will get back into this fight, but he did manage to get close enough, and the checkered flag went to John Prefontaine there in the Mustang, followed up by Alwyn Bishop, and then third across the line was Sean English, and they will be down their pit lane very, very shortly, and we will have a chat with them. But we're not too far away from having a little bit of a break before we head over to our live coverage. Don't forget to join us at SBS On Demand, Fox Sports and KO as well. We're going to be streaming across all those platforms from 1 p.m. this afternoon, so make sure you go across that as we check out the points from this one, Lockie.
Yeah, so overall round results, so confirming that Alwyn Bishop was the round winner on 96 points. John Prefontaine, second overall for the weekend on 80 points, ahead of Sean English, Ian Palmer and Mark Spencer rounding out your top 5 for the weekend.
Fantastic weekend there racing for the Australian Trans Am. Their final race of the weekend. Now let's head down to pit lane with our winners.
Yeah, thanks, Matty. I've got Sean English with me. He's actually just jumping out of the race car now. I mean, I've got to say, when you come up close to these cars, aren't they fantastic-looking racing cars? They just don't age, do they? Just some of our history here, and certainly the Group N cars before with these Trans Am cars are fantastic as well. Sean, thanks for jumping out for us. Well done. Third in that race. How was it?
Yeah, it was good fun, mate. Glad to keep up with the boys at the front. But yeah, just good to finish the weekend for once. Had a few problems with this car over the time, but just good to have a finish and have a good run.
No worries. And you're following us to Morgan Park. You're coming to the next round with us, and then Sydney Motorsport Park. So we'll see these cars a bit more, which is great.
Yeah, looking forward to Morgan Park. The 5-litre car should be quick around there. Yep.
Good on you. No worries. Thanks, Sean. Well done on third place. Alwyn Bishop, and the boys are telling me in the radio that you're the round winner, so well done. Congratulations. What a beautiful looking car. Second place in that race. How well done.
Oh, yeah, great competitor, mate. He's awesome, and the 5-litre cars are giving us a fair bit of stick, so that's good. That's good. Yeah, had fun. Yeah, really enjoyed the weekend.
The boys are talking about the Duster, so I love it. Fantastic.
Yeah,
and
the only one in the world racing circuit, I think. They're all normally generally drag racing cars, so yeah. So we still use torsion bar front end, so which they have coils, not coils. Yeah, it's coil springs. We have torsion bars, so I'm a bit nervous.
Good on you, Alwyn. Well done, and congratulations on the round. Well done. Now we can find John Prefontaine. Well done, John. Congratulations, well done. And Wood Brothers throwback scheme there, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that's it, mate. We love the livery on this car. Just like to thank Hi-Tec Oils for putting this on. The Super Series is a fantastic series to be a part of. And we're privileged to have these old school awesome muscle cars, the Trans Ams, out here playing with the big boys. I've been trying to get around these guys all weekend and they've made it really tough, but I think the cameras made me pull a little bit more horsepower out somehow. Just want to thank my crew, Rob, my father, Dad, for giving me the keys. But yeah, really appreciate it.
Well done, congratulations. We'll see you at Morgan Park. Good on you.
Thanks, mate. Have a good day.
Thank you, guys.
Prefontaine, it's great to see the emotion coming out of him as he gets that win, and yeah, he did have to work really hard to get it, but brings a wrap up to our live stream here of this morning's racing. It's day number 2 of the 2 days of Thunder, but it's the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series round number 3. From 1 p.m. we go live on SBS and Fox Sports, Lockie. It's going to be a fantastic afternoon of racing. We've got 2 races coming from our TA2 muscle cars framed by Hi-Tec steel framing. We've still got the Queensland production cars to get a race in. The Hyundai Excels return for their inaugural Australian Championship. They've got 1 more race to go, as well as our Replica Tourers before we finish it off with our TA2 muscle cars. Their final race, 20 laps they've got to get through. It's already been exciting. We've seen them bump and grind and a few spin off track, but a lot of repairs going on in the pits, and we'll see them from 1 p.m.
Yeah, very much looking forward to the 2 TA2 races and those other 3 categories you mentioned. We already know that they're going to put on a good show as well, so looking forward to joining you all then.
Can't wait, 1 p.m, SBS and Fox Sports. Join us live.
grabs that win.
Yeah, 10-4, mate.
On the win.
So, Brad, just tell me, what did you have for breakfast this morning?
I had an iced latte.
Wow. He's pretty hardcore. How excited are you about not being in this race, Brad?
Not very excited, but it's cool to see the other side of things and, yeah, have a chat about all things racing.
How'd you go, Matty? Is that okay?
And Mark. welcome to Queensland Raceway for round number 3 of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. It's a little bit cloudy here this weekend, but we haven't seen any rain come down yet. We are only 45 minutes west of Brisbane here in Ipswich in the centre of motorsport here in Willowbank. Queensland Raceway, though, massive upgrades have happened since the last time we competed here. We've got these great new fantastic pit facilities. Everything's happening out the back. There's go-karts here. There's so much more for everyone who wants to come down and watch. I'm Matt Kavanagh, and joining me, Stephen White alongside. We're coming off the back of a great round up in Darwin, which was round number 2 of the Hi-Tec Oil Series. It was the first 2 co-driver event when it came to the Hi-Tec Oils, the TA2 muscle cars as well. So that was a huge event for us. What was that like?
Oh, amazing, Matty. I mean, and welcome to you and welcome to everyone. Obviously, it's been a great, fantastic, series so far. And Darwin just eclipsed anything we could have hoped for. And 2-driver event, first one in the world. The guys loved it. All the feedback was fantastic. And now on to Queensland Raceway for round 3.
And we've just spoken about the facilities here, the pit bays, everything. They're doing a fantastic job, aren't they, this weekend? 2 days of thunder, and everyone's really excited.
Yeah, we're very thankful for the management of QR and obviously Tony Quinn and his team, led by Josh McFarlane, been just magnificent to us. They've allowed us to join up with their iconic 2 days of thunder event. So round 3 of the Hi-Tec Oils series, combining with the 2 days of thunder here. And this event here is just all about brute power and fantastic racing. And what better category like TA2 to jump in on that? It's fantastic.
And already we've seen some tough racing across all those categories this weekend, but the TA2 muscle cars framed by Hi-Tec Steel Framing, they always turn it on for us. Seen a couple of big moments out there, and there's been a few repairs happening in the pits.
Yeah, I'm amazed. I'm forever amazed how quickly they can repair the TA2 car. I mean, and this weekend we're joined by the new Australian Hyundai Excel Championship, brought to you by ECB. So, there's fantastic things that are happening, and it's all about the sport, it's all about the controlled formulas, but more importantly, it's all about the action. So QR's turned it on. I mean, we were lucky enough to talk to Tony Quinn before, and look, he's obviously looking at ways of innovating technology and the way that we grow our sport, make it safer, but certainly make it a place where people can come and enjoy their racing. So, QR's got it on, turned it on for us, and I'm sure next time we come here it'll be better again, but can't wait for today's racing.
Well, our first race we're going to see this afternoon will be the TA2 muscle cars, and one of the biggest fans of TA2 muscle cars is Wade Oinger, and he's up there in the commentary box.
You are exactly right, Matty Cav. What is not to love about the TA2 muscle car series framed by Hi-Tec? Would you look at that? Wade Oinger and Brad Gartner. Now, there's good and bad in that little combination. The good part is that you're talking with me. Bad part is you're talking to me. Brad, why are you in commentary and not on the track?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. It's cool to see the other side of things, but yeah, not where we want to be today. Obviously, brake fail in race 2 this morning. Straight ahead at turn 4 and backed it into the tyre barrier, unfortunately.
We will get to that very soon, and let's have a look at highlights so far. What an amazing championship this is. TA2 Muscle Car Series.
laid the background for round 2 of the TA2 Muscle Car Series, framed by Hi-Tec Steel Framing over the April-May Labor Day weekend. Drivers were out early to meet the locals and have some fun in the 35-degree sun. The Kings of the North round had a new twist, the world's first TA2 2-driver event, plus a $20,000 cash bonus for the highest point-scoring 2-driver team. Some pretty impressive talent headed north for the challenge, including Nathan Hearn, returning from the USA to partner New Zealander and TA2 Asia champ Paul Manuel, National Trans Am and Super 2 driver Tyler Everingham, Tim Brook, Jordan Cox, George Miedeke, Marcus Sakanovic, and 2017 TA2 champ Russell Wright. Each driver had their own qualifying and sprint races before combining for 2 longer feature races with a mandatory pit stop and driver change.
It was first time out just then. I'm a little more relaxed now. We've done it, track walk, been on track. Now I can sort of focus on where we've got to improve. But yeah, it was a bit daunting to start with in the heat for sure. But I'm pretty lucky I've got a cool suit. I don't like to tell too many people because I think a bit of a sook having it in there, but I'm glad to have it in here, that's for sure.
Yeah, you just sort of battle with the cards that you get dealt with. So we've got our pool set up out the back now, so we'll go and have a little dive and a dip later on and hopefully keep the crocodiles out of there.
Yeah, it means a lot for our small team. Obviously, we've been working towards this for a long time, and obviously, today
we got the icing on the cake, got the job done, and then, yeah, hopefully we can have some close racing out there with Nathan.
Hearn and Tim Brooke won their individual sprint races, whilst Tim Brooke and Dylan Thomas combined to win the first 20-lap feature race from father and son team Steve and Michael Coulter in the Cabelco Camaro, and the Brad Gartner Max Vito Mustang running third. Tim Brooke in the CXC Mustang and Nathan Hearn's Cube 3 Dodge again dominated the Sunday sprint races, being pushed all the way by Max Vito and Josh Haynes. The final 35-lap feature race was set to rock Hidden Valley. Michael Rao was an early casualty. Then Filippetto in the Formosa Dodge took out the Coulter Camaro and the Mediki McAllister Mustang. Series leader coming into the round, Lee Stibbs, was also in trouble. While most pitted for the driver change under safety car, Tim Brooke and Dylan Thomas were the only team to make the stop under green, but had the points in the bank to take the gamble. Zach LaChalpo stopped on the very last lap, while Jordan Cox and Mark Crutcher had a stellar drive from 16th to take the win. Dylan Thomas and Tim Brooke claimed the cash with the overall points haul, with a flawless performance all weekend.
A lot of people have put a lot of focus onto the last race, but there was 5 races prior to the last race. So we figured that if we could do a chunk of our work in terms of points collection, the last race wasn't critical. And going into the last race, all we had to do was finish. So we basically just played our own race and try to stay out of trouble.
You know, when you've got 35 laps in these cars that, you know, struggle to stop, struggle to keep tyres underneath them for a sprint race, we kind of just put the eggs in the basket, or that was my main mindset anyway, was to make sure we had the best car possible for the end of the 35 laps for Dylan to do his thing and keep it safe.
Nick Bates picked up the Serco Masters class. Jordan Cox and Mark Crutcher won the Hypercoils Hard Charger Award for passing 16 cars. Rob Leonard claimed the Bowden's Own Best Presented Award. And Hayden Hume, the Racetech Rookie of the Round.
So cars are on track now for race 3 of round 3 of the TA2 Muscle Car Series, framed by Hi-Tec. Qualifying was yesterday. The PWR Pole Award went the way of Nash Morris, who was absolutely fantastic, as many people knew he would be.
Well, it was an exciting PWR pole top 10 shootout here this morning at Queensland Raceway for round 3 of the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. TA2 muscle cars framed by Hi-Tec Steel Framing, and Nash Morris, the big smile on your face because you've gone very fast and got yourself a pole award.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I didn't feel too nervous out there. I've done plenty of shootouts at Norwell Motorplex across the years where I work, so it's pretty cool to get another $500. I can give it to the boys for working so hard.
Mate, impressive time out there as well. You've really stamped your authority there. 9/10 of a second over the rest of the field.
Yeah, well, races where it matters, so we'll see if we can carry on that speed. That's the biggest thing.
Well, congratulations. Grab your PWR Pole Award check.
Thank you.
Yeah, did a fantastic job. Stephen White is standing by trackside. Oh, would you look at that cool shot. Good afternoon, Whitey.
Good afternoon, Wade. How are you? What a fantastic day. And here we are with Josh Haynes. Done brilliantly so far. How you going, Josh? Looking forward to this race?
Yeah, super pumped. The Beaches C2 Mustang is a rocket. We were quick in that last race, obviously. Just got a bit unlucky with safety cars. The track's cool. Car's quick. I'm pumped. We'll see how we go on this one.
You've made a couple of changes to the car. It was obviously a bit sharper in that second race. Obviously, the safety cars were interrupting the race, but it looked like you were sort of sitting behind Nash pretty comfortably there. So, yes, hopefully this one will make a bit of a fight of it.
Yeah, look, hopefully we had a bit of pace to burn, so obviously it comes down to our tyre strategy, and we want to be there at the last lap of the last race this afternoon, so we'll see what we can do.
Good on you. Thanks, Josh. Right back to you guys.
We will take a very quick break and come back on the other side of this, and then we're going to let loose with race 3 of the TA2 Muscle Car Series, framed by Hi-Tec.
Ranger safe truck here at Queensland Raceway, and we've also got the Hi-Tec steel framing which is used for leading TA2 cars around on the formation lap here at Queensland Raceway. Still to come this afternoon. fourth and final race of the weekend is the Queensland Production Car Series. The fourth and final race for the Australian Excel Racing Series presented by ESS 4x4 accessories. Fourth and final race for the second TA2 Muscle Car Series. Now we lost 4 cars over the previous race, but it was apart from Brad Gartner. Cars, all of them are back in active position. We can see Chris Pappas and Michael Cooper in their cars are all lining up at the back of the field. There is a good formation back there, though. Have we lost somebody else, or is that spot that would have been left inside Brad Gartner? That would have been Brad Gartner. The last of the cars to retire from the previous race, so it would have been scheduled to start the race out in 17, and that is the spot on the grid that I went to Vegas. So not too far away from taking off on the warm-up lap. One of the things here at Queensland Raceway is that because the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series, because we do have live technical coverage to start to do on SBS and Fox Sports. The race has to start to get a TV to go, so the held on really until such time as the TV to go being Grech. Send the cars off on the formation lane. We've already seen that we've put 10 minutes out of the Porsche Cup in Europe in order to help get us back on schedule earlier in the meeting. Now, that's the wind is predicting up quite a bit of stuff, isn't it? It's starting to get a bit warmer for a couple of hours.
Welcome back to Queensland Raceway. Well, the TA2 community mourned the loss of one of our really great family members, the wonderful Jeff Lees, who was an amazing race car driver in his own right, with a career that spanned some 35 years and 23 Bathurst starts. Yesterday, the TA2 family joined, along with Jeff's family, his lovely wife Sandra, his proud son Ben and his partner Megan, all joined with the teams yesterday to just pay tribute to a remarkable person that was part of a really magical era in touring car racing. Many people say the best ever era, the Moffat, Brock, Johnson, Jane, Grice, Gagan and Goss era. Jeff had so many different strings to his bow. He was a driver standards observer with us with the series for a number of years, but he was known for being a mentor, a man that really wanted to be transparent in his rulings as driver, as standards officer. He always liked just instilling in young people the ideal of racing hard, racing fair, and respecting your fellow racer. We are so honoured to have had Jeff as part of our TA2 family. He passed away after a 3-month battle with brain cancer, and we offer our love and our thoughts to all of Jeff's family and his wider family in the motor racing community. We miss you, Leedsy. What an absolutely wonderful man. We're going to race hard for Jeff Lees today, but we're going to race fair as well. And that's the cool part about what we're doing today. The Queensland Raceway have put up a very, very cool trophy as well. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's have a look at Queensland Raceway, the paperclip. And turn 4, we'll call that Brad Gartner corner, and we'll explain that a little bit later on. 6 corners, 4 drag strips, a little over 3.1 kilometres. Let's take a look at some highlights now. And Nash Morris, this is in race number 2 earlier today. Brad Gartner, you're getting a look at this sort of stuff for the first time. It's a very, very fast racetrack. It was on early. Unfortunately, Nicholas Bates and Chris Pappas got together. As a result, Nick Bates was fined 5 championship points for his part in the melee. But it was a spectacular part of the racetrack and the fastest part of the racetrack too, Brad.
Yeah, it's not the place you want to go off in the big breaks there. But yeah, seeing that one, the mirror, wouldn't want to be involved.
No, well, you were about to have your own moment in the sun. There's a shot of the 22 car when it did look pretty. You were having a really good battle, but here, this is scary. You had us all very concerned. Did you realise just how fast that looked going off?
No, it's a hard watch. I hope Mum's not at home watching, but yeah, it's never good when you go off, and yeah, just from them drone footage, I didn't realise there was such a big lake there. So
tell me what's going on here.
Yeah, so we're up in the 4th. We're wide open here, and yeah, we normally brake at the Marshall, and yeah, no brakes, so we're straight in. Avoid ripping the nose off, and yeah, tyre barrier there anyway, and yeah, extremely hard watch.
You touched on 200 kilometres an hour in that little part of the racetrack coming into turn 4 as we take live pictures now. And look at your grid. Morris, Haynes, Rice, Thomas, Wright, Hume, McAllister, Jackson, Crutcher and Cheney, Rowell, McKeldin, Keem, Leonard, Hadley, Walsh, no Brad Gartner, Chris Pappas, Michael Coulter is back after having some throttle issues, and we segue perfectly into going racing here at Queensland Raceway. Haynes and Morris, Thomas and Rice, just saw Crutcher fade to the inside. Hayden Hume has been really good this weekend as well. The rookie in the Racetec race seats, Rookie of the Year championship contention. Morris, your leader. That is such a good corner to watch, Brad. What's it like to drive?
Yeah, lap 1, a corner like that, so you don't want to be too wide, but see they're going all right. I know Haynes is going to have a proper crack here. He's sick of getting second. Yeah,
well, I would imagine you're right. How about Rusty Wright? There he is, the veteran in the crew commercial entry. 5th place, got a lot of young guns in front of him. He's got his 118th start today. This race is 118 TA2 starts. Morris, your leader, from Haynes, from Rice. Oh. We got trouble back here. And is that the Rowell car? We'll have to have a quick look again and see. It might have been Mick Rowell. Rice in that 3rd spot. Bit of a lock-up. Runs wide. There goes Hayden Jackson, Hugh McAllister, Graham Cheney, Mark Crutcher. I'm just looking for the distinctive colours of Mick Rowell. I think that might have been Rowley that looped it. The working lap 2 of 12. Brad Gartner joining me in commentary. That's the good news, that you're here. It was a scary ride. And I know that a lot of your fellow racers were worried about you too, mate. You've had a lot of the teams come down and check on you after that crash.
Yeah, it was really nice to feel the support. Obviously, it's definitely not what we want, but as I said, cool to see the other side of things and really grateful for all the messages and support. So yeah, love the community.
G'day, Mum. G'day, Dad. He's okay. As much as he was before he got here anyway. What's it like watching this? Is it like watching somebody dance with a girlfriend?
Yeah, this is hard to watch. I'd love to be out there. It's cool to see Rusty back in, and yeah, I don't know what happened there. It's not like factory Mike to make a mistake, so it'd be interesting to see more of that.
I think there might have been contact or proximity with the Kubota Tractors entry of Matt McKeldin. We'll take a look at the 55, the crew commercial entry of Rusty Wright, the inaugural series champion, and a man who, in winning that, got to race at the Circuit of the Americas in Texas and run 1 round of the championship over there. Of course, we have an incredible diamond and gold ring. As always, Wallace Bishop, get behind us. Champion wins that as well. The working lap 3 of 12. Dylan Thomas, the winner, along with Tim Brooks from the Darwin round. Our first ever 2-driver concept, worldwide first ever. What was that like?
Oh, that was pretty cool, especially to have a star driver in my car, Max Rodeau, so that was awesome. Yeah, we managed to put some good laps together and come away with P3, so that was good fun.
Bit of loving for the Maxi. Star driver. Wow.
He definitely doesn't need the confidence boost, but I'll give it to him anyway.
You are greasing the wheels. One of your good mates too, Lockie McDonough, did a fantastic job last night at Archerfield Speedway, standing up in the seat there as well with some of the big dogs. Let's get back to Ipswich. Morris, Haynes is under some pressure from Rice. Thomas is there, so is Rusty. We go back to a lonely ride for Hayden Hume. Then back to Jackson. So Hayden Jackson started in 20th, had a clutch issue, didn't even get a lap in his qualifying run. He's been moving up the order. He's now in 7th in our 3rd race for the weekend. You've just got to ride out the wave sometimes.
Yeah, it's definitely a patient game, especially around a track like this. Big breaks, you want to be just consistent. He went up 8 spots in the first race, and yeah, obviously now he's up to 7, so that's 13 spots. He's going really well.
Oh, Mark Crutcher. That is not good at all. What's the go with Pappas? There's damage. So the left front corner looks like there might have been a little bit of a concertina action there. And it's definitely rubbing on that left front corner. He had damage in the left rear corner as well. And that was from that incident earlier with Bates, who's back on track after they had to work hard on that car. Lap 4 of 12. Look at Rusty. Ageless, mate.
Yeah, he's just cruising around. I know Pappas was a bit worried about coming into this race, having to come from the back, but yeah, it looks like he's been caught up in the sun. Be interesting to see what happened there.
It's so good to see new sponsors getting involved as well. Nash carving out some good times, Brad.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see Nash just doing two laps in the 12s. He's over half a second faster than Josh both laps, so that's extremely fast laps for this time of the weekend. That's qualifying time, so it's very interesting to see.
It's the old Boxer Brewery entry. A new line of beer made it to the Witches Falls Winery in Mount Tambourine. I fancy that Mark Crutcher and his beautiful wife will be sampling some of the sponsors' product a little bit later on after racing. There is Jackson Rice in the Dream Racing entry, doing a very nice job. He's got some pressure now from Thomas. How good is Nash Morris?
Yeah, he's just checked out there. Them Norwell guys have got that car dialed in, and Nash himself's coming off a big win at Trans Am, so he's dialed in. Confidence is up. He's doing really well.
Long back straight away. From the air, it's a relatively unimaginative circuit, but it looks a lot more technical.
It feels a lot more technical than what it looks, as you got to get everything right, especially with the long straights. You ruin your exit on the corner and you got that whole thing to make it up.
So Nash, Josh, Jackson, they're all kids. I say that with the utmost respect. Dylan Thomas and Rusty Wright, they're not. Hayden Hume, he's a teenager. Graham Cheney up to 7th now. Nice job for him. Hayden Jackson up to 8th. Hugh McAllister, and now Matt McKeldin into a top 10. And Greg Keem out of Gunnedah up to 11th. His career best result at the moment. First season for him running with us. Only his second round, as we now see Hayden Jackson, Hugh McAllister right in behind them down the main straightaway. We're working lap 6 of 12, round 3, TA2 Muscle Car Series, framed by Hi-Tec Steel Framing. Easy to pinch a brake just there, isn't it? Because you are hauling A55.
Yeah, it's one of the ones you want to be on the brake, but you also don't want to be on it for too long. You just want to clear it and then get on the throttle. But yeah,
I love watching these things.
He's got that big slide. He's come through the pack, so I'd say he's used up a lot of his tyre. Now he's just hanging in there.
Hugh McAllister, the lanky leadfoot from Young in New South Wales, the dealer principal of McAllister Motors. His dad, Ian Macca McAllister. I would hate to have faced Macca in a football game. Very big, powerful man is Ian McAllister. Hugh really putting the pressure on. So let's look back outside the 10. You've got Keem, Coulter, Pappas, Bates, Paul Hadley. Oh, no! The Mud Tamer entry nearly filled up the car, but as we know, the Mud Tamer Max would have solved that problem if he did get kitty litter. But he just dropped 2 spots. We see someone else going up at the top.
Just see Hayden Humes pulled in there, so that must be some sort of mechanical failure.
That is not good, because he has been impressive so far this weekend. I think, looking back on it, did Jackson just outbrake himself there?
Yeah, I don't know. He looks like he's, I don't know what side he pinched, but normally in that corner, as soon as you unload it, it's easy to pinch to the right front.
Gee, look at the gap. Long way back to Graham Cheney in the IES Camaro, that gorgeous 2-car operation out of the Wollongong area. We now take a look. Once again, the Mud Tamer, number 7, the Dream Racing entry of Jackson Rice back in 5th place. Rusty is up to 4th. And they've spread out just a bit in this battle. Probably the top 5 or 6, but when you go back further to Hayden Jackson out of Newcastle, Hugh McAllister, Matt McKeldin, Greg Keem, Michael Coulter, and Chris Pappas with Nicholas Bates, the Serco Masters class defending champion. So lap 7 of 12, about to be 8. Do you really start to notice the tyre difference at this point in the race?
Yeah, it depends what pressures everyone started at. Yesterday my car done the fastest lap of the race in lap 8, but at the moment, if you're not doing your fastest lap times now it'll start to drop off from anywhere now on.
Right, so about lap 8 when you start to get the optimal working for the Hoosier?
Yeah, the lap 20 is going to be interesting, but it definitely depends, like I said, on the tyre pressures and your driving style. You see Nash, Morris and Haynes, like they drive the car very straight compared to, a lot of people slide it around, which just heats up that tyre.
That is such a shame for Hayden Hume, the young man in the 45 car, the teenager, who's been really impressive this weekend so far. Now the battle is on. Look at McAllister. Hugh was really enjoying the QR paperclip, and he's starting to put that 81 car under enormous pressure. Hayden Jackson. So at the moment, Hugh and Haydo putting on that battle for 7th place. McKeldin inside the top 10. He's in 9th, the big real estate mogul. Then you go back to Keem, Coulter, Bates, Pappas, Paul Hatley with a bit of a career best rocking at the moment. The main man of IES Motorsports, very handy motorcycle racer and boat racer back in the day as well. Hugh closing in, about to put lap 10 of 12 in the books. What's it like being a spectator, Brad?
It's good fun. It's good to look at the times and everything. I see Dylan Thomas done his 2 fastest laps of his own race, so he's catching Haynes about 3/10 a lap, so that'll be interesting come and finish.
Once again, you see Hayden just nipping the brakes then. You saw that wisp of, whoa, that's more than a wisp of smoke. Hayden's feeling the pressure, slides it out of that left-hander into the right-hander as well. It's such a tricky circuit to keep momentum, and that's so critical. Here we go, up the inside. Hugh, can he make it stick? No.
He's a good braker, Hugh. He was following me yesterday, and very intimidating in the mirror, but I thought he might have had that one done, but we'll see. He'll come back.
The charismatic Ian Luff always used to say the last of the late breakers. He absolutely threw the speculator in. Whether he's going to be able to come back, that's going to be the question. Let's go down to pit lane with Stephen White.
Thanks, Wade. Yes, I've got a disappointed Hayden Hume here. Sounds like you've got gearbox problems.
Oh yeah, I was just running in 6th, running my own race, and we just got a massive, after shifting in the 3rd, I got a massive grind. Just no matter what gear I was in, it was clunking and grinding and carrying on. So reliability's let us down yet again, but might as well come in and not blow it up and save it for the next race.
All right, no worries. Looks like the guys will fix it and get you back out for the next one.
We'll try, but it seems pretty hurt. Might need a gearbox out, might need it looked at, but hopefully the hour turnaround won't be a problem.
Good on you. Thanks, Hayden. No worries. And just an update on the Chris Pappas car. You'll see it's a bit wounded out there, a bit of superficial damage because he continued on, and I did notice that Nicholas Bates was around him, so hopefully those 2 guys play nice this time.
Thank you, Whitey. We just saw the human highlight reel. Mark Crutcher doing it again. Look at this, McAllister. Good run. And that gives